comfy seats, teas about to get wild. We've got true crime tales and a mischievous smile. More life chaos, the highs and the lows, laughing through the madness, anything goes. It's talk time with Amy Boston and Kelly Farrell. Fun nights and stories we're telling. Everyone's welcome, grab your drink, come run. We love true crime, real life and fun, and free care and rejoice. Interviews, confessions, and a little bit of sass. Laughing till we're breathless, letting troubles pass. Among squad missions to mysteries at night. Grab your crew, settle in, it's a wild ride. It's talk time with Amy Boston and Kelly Farrell. Fun nights and stories we're telling. Everyone's welcome, grab your drink, come run. He loves true crime, real life and fun. Hell, it's free care and rejoice. It's talk time with Amy Boston and Kelly Free Karen Reed.
Hello. Hello.
What I'm doing here.
I know. Well, we're new at this. Welcome, everybody. Happy Memorial Day. Right. Hey, Tar Heel. We are also streaming with the Tilted lawyer, Omar, today. And we have Hey Rob.
But I was trying to figure out what we're doing because I don't know what we're doing. Excuse me for a moment.
Over there. Hi, Erica P. We are streaming with Omar today. I am Amy Boston. For everyone who has never been to our channel, welcome to Talk Time with Amy Boston and Kelly, who is just on the screen. Often we stream regarding the Karen retrial, as I am from Norfolk County, Massachusetts. And hi, Amy. Nice to see you. Today, though, we are talking about Laura Owens, okay? This chick will make this whole chat look like angels, like we walk on water.
We do walk on water. What? This girl, let me tell you. There he is.
Oh.
I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Where did he go?
What's up, everybody?
Hi, Omar.
How are you?
Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day to you. Oh,
and all who we remember. Honestly, my dad's home from the hospital. That's a plus.
Yay! That's good. Hi, Morrissey's iCloud. So, Omar, I know your audience knows the Laura Owens case, but I'm not sure that ours knows too much about it. But I am fascinated. I have been down rabbit holes that I didn't even know existed for the past 4 days on this law. She is mind-blowing.
Oh, I watched Omar go down rabbit holes in the beginning.
Yeah, no, I had the first time I did a 4.5-hour live stream, and it wasn't enough time to get through all of the craziness of the case.
Didn't you talk to her?
No, I talked with her. Like the only reason I even know about her is because she had reached out to me just at random about her story and her case. And then it's been a while ago. I don't remember who I got introduced to first, but she had reached out to me on email to tell me her story.
Of course
Of course she
somebody
did.
said that I should get a hold of Dave Neal. And so I did get a hold of Dave Neal. And he's like, dude, if you want to jump on this train, it's going to be a wreck. But there's so much. If you really want to sit down and talk about it, I will. And then we did. We had like a 30 to 45-minute conversation on the phone about all kinds of crazy stuff and fake ultrasounds and weird text messages. And then the more that you dig into the case, there's literally 11 years of history with this lady.
There's a lot.
All the way back to Mike Marraccini, Greg Gillespie.
That story broke my heart.
Yeah, I mean, there's more. There's more victims. It's not just them two.
They're not all come out, have they? Not everyone's come forward.
No, not everybody's come forward, but she has. I don't even know where to start with her. Where I started was obviously with the Echard case, in the middle of what was supposed to be like a legitimate paternity case out of Maricopa County, Arizona. It turned out that she was likely, well, like 99% certainty, never pregnant. She had elevated HCG levels, which is the main benchmark for these take-home paternity tests. So you take one of those, you pee on a stick. It tells you got elevated HCG. More
I know
than
how
likely,
before they figured it out. She did the weight loss meds because I took them.
well, yeah, there's those. I've also heard some stories out there that she may have purchased injectable HCG. That hasn't been corroborated, but
yeah, that's what I
did
took for weight loss meds. Was I took the injectable HCG when you do it with combined with a diet.
Yeah.
In 2019, right before COVID hit? That's what I was doing. I was doing the injectable HCG and then a diet that they put me on at the same time at a weight loss place. And that's how she got it in her system enough to where she was showing that positive.
Able to fake it. Yeah. But the thing is, when you are expecting that you're pregnant, more than likely you're not taking injectable HCG.
No.
A valid reason to have elevated HCG levels. So she knew that she was. They never had penetrative sex was the thing. And so this was going to be a miracle baby. At first, there was like some waffling about that, right? I'm pregnant. How could you possibly be pregnant? We only had oral. And then she's like, no. And she was like going back and forth with that. And then she sends him a text message, something to the lines of, if you only knew how tight I was, you'd change your mind about me.
Yo, bro.
If you've never had penetrative sex before, that would be something that I guess you would say.
Right? Wouldn't he have already known that? That's the shit that makes you come back.
Exactly.
You tried to get him on the dating contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then it was along the same timeline of that. It was, look, if you agree to date me and you actually want to have a relationship with me and you want to talk to me and we can go out on a date, we can talk about it, I'll get an abortion, all will be forgiven. But if you don't want to date me, then I'll tell you what, I'm keeping this child and I'm going to put you on child support. And that's kind of how it all went down.
I think the email said, if you don't respond tonight, I'm having the babies.
Yeah. It was straight up extortion. That's why she's facing criminal charges right now, because you can't just do that shit to people. And so she files this paternity case, I think it was August of 23. And, she's going on about elevated HCG. She carries on the charade for a good 4 to 5 months. She even shows up in a court appearance with like a fake moon bump baby, whatever that was.
It was so big. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then it like adjusted in like these weird ways that no pregnant belly would ever do.
No.
It was literally like you had like a basketball in your, it just didn't look natural. And she's carrying on this way until about 5 months in, she declares that she's no longer pregnant because the case had gone on way too long. It had blown up way too much. Echard was going after sanctions for her bringing a frivolous case. Like, first of all, you're not pregnant. You've never been pregnant. One of the things that he put in his answer was, I believe this is a frivolous paternity case, and I'm requesting sanctions under these 3 statutes. And that was the reason why she wasn't just able to dismiss. It's like, oh no, we're going to talk about how you lied to the court and submitted fake ultrasounds. And
she thought he would lay over. He would just be like, okay.
And he might have, but the way that she went about litigating it was just so ridiculous. There was like a literal motion that she filed to compel lunch, like a lunch meeting. It's like, look, what she's asking for is a motion to meet and confer, right? To compel that. That's not usually something that you write a motion for. But she asked the judge to force him to have a lunch meeting with her. And the judge obviously didn't go anywhere. But that's the insanity of this case. It doesn't start with Echard. That's kind of the culmination of 11 years of craziness from Owens' standpoint. And, I don't think that this case would have blown up as much as it did were it not for, she got this one attorney, David Gingras.
He's
who's just as batshit crazy as her.
You'd have to be. I mean,
Dang
to say she got pregnant from a blowjob, you have to be real convincing. And
Well,
real
he kept on
convincing.
saying that he believes her and all this stuff and whatever. And I don't know anything about any of the other evidence that happened, but for the 3 months of time that I represented her leading up to the trial, and just kept on having these Twitter wars with people and YouTube comments. He wanted to do like legal debates about stuff. At one point, he was calling me on the phone because he wanted to legally debate me. And then when I politely told him that I think you're kind of full of shit with your legal arguments, he declared that I was dead to him, and he moved on to other. He actually did do a debate with Rachel Juarez, the judge, the hot
on Reality Steve.
Yeah, on Reality Steve's. And he just got obliterated. Like she made him look like he was a first-year law student that had no idea how these petitions works, had no idea about what due process meant or how it was structured. And, there was a lot. So we're here. She's carrying on with this appeal that I don't think anybody gives a shit about anymore. He lost on appeal. He's trying to get it to the Supreme Court. Nobody cares. He has no legal basis, not even worth debating. Where this case is headed now.
Judge removed, right?
Well, he tried to have the judge removed, but there was no grounds to do that. And he said that she was biased because her dad was in attendance and was he's giving her like these hand signals.
Don't do that over here.
Throwing up gang signs in the back, like, don't fuck this up.
Yeah, like, hey, you're not supposed to say that, remember?
Yeah.
Shut up about the hours or whatever, the Planned Parenthood. You're changing your story on the stand. There's all this stuff. It was a
when I
heard blew my mind too is that sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say what blew my mind too is that she was up on the stand. I was quick watching through one of when she was up at testifying, and she's trying to convince everybody that she went to Planned Parenthood and was under an assumed name, and it wasn't, she didn't want anyone. It's like she's a fucking celebrity. Like, I didn't want anyone to know it was me. And I said right out, I'm like, you have to have ID to get into a Planned Parenthood or anything. Like, I work in healthcare. Like, you have to have. And she's standing with her chest out, just like, I was under a fake name. And the fact that this has happened. Can you actually? I want to ask you a question. Why couldn't her prior bad acts or her prior acts of doing this to Mike or whoever else? You said there's way more victims. Why couldn't that come in if it's a pattern and he's saying that we didn't even have sex?
It wasn't proven yet, though.
Well, put it this way: it's they only had 2 hours for trial. Those prior bad acts were litigated to some degree, not on its merits, but they were litigated to some degree. And because you only have 2 hours to get stuff in, I'm guessing, because prior bad acts are not normally admissible anyway. There has to show, unless it's to show a pattern of bad acts for sure. Which maybe that was a mistake, because there's a real argument to be made that it should have been let in. But I just don't think that they had the time to get those in anyway for it to even be an issue. I think that because Marraccini was there, he was there as a subpoenaed witness. It's not like they weren't going to use it if the opportunity presented itself, but they literally had an hour to present their entire case, and they just didn't need to get into the prior bad acts because of how bad.
Thing is spent 45 minutes just on Laura.
It was a mistake. Well, I don't know if it was a mistake, but yeah, spending that much time with Laura was a mistake. Going into some of the things that he went into was a mistake. Allowing her to go on these long narratives was a huge mistake, because then it opened the door to everything they got in on cross. And what they got her to do on cross exam was literally morph her story on the stand. But that's what she does all the time. The problem is you can't do that when you're on the witness stand in front of the judge with everybody watching, which is what she did.
And I don't know, she's gotten away with it for so long. I mean, I was reading something about her that her father's scared of her. He's just oh, just make her happy, we'll fix it later, type of thing. And that's probably allegedly where her issues started. Her parents never held her accountable for anything, from what I read.
And it feels like her parents, they enable her.
Her mom, I think her mom is 69. Her dad is, I don't know how old her dad is, in his 70s, I'd imagine, but he's having health issues. I don't imagine that he's got like the energy to sit there and like sit her down and give her a good what for. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, what are we gonna do at this point? She's a 36-year-old lady, I think. I think she's 36.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's old enough to know better.
The fact that
She's old enough.
The fact that she accused Mike of beating her so badly that she got epilepsy, but then she had the Uber court case that she said the car accident caused epilepsy.
Yeah.
And then it was like, you know, she just like you look at Mike and you can see he is just like so gentle. And when I first saw him, I was like, there's no way that he did what she said. There's no way. He's so calm or so like paranoid of her. You can tell he's still scared of her.
Well, I can tell you, I've spoken to Mike, and basically she was this lady that he dated, and she went batshit crazy on a plane, and it was like she started crying, like throwing a temper tantrum like a 4-year-old would on a plane full of people. And it's at that point, it's like he didn't know what to do. How do you handle like a grown woman like throwing a tantrum like that? There's no way to calm her down and whatever is going on. There's a lot of other stuff that I can't really talk about with respect to him, but I would agree with the assessment that he's more scared of her than she of him. I mean, he's married, he's got kids now, he's trying to move on with life. I don't know. I mean, she's got a restraining order against him right now that she's had for, I think, 8 years. The first time that it was granted, it wasn't even litigated. He just agreed to it because his attorney told him to do that.
Right.
He wasn't trying to like make contact with her. It's like, look, she wants a restraining order. Don't worry about it. I will not bother her. Fine. And so he agrees to it. And then she tries to renew it on this, showing that, oh, I'm still afraid of him and what he did to me and this kind of stuff. The allegations in that restraining order are pretty bad if they actually happen, because she accuses him of a lot of things. Whether or not you think those are true is another story. I personally think that they're conjured. And if he had the actual opportunity to litigate it, it would have had a different result. But hey,
right. I know that she accused Echard of grape, as well as him as well. Like the stories are so similar.
She Woodnick of it too.
Wait, what?
She was Woodnick of rape too.
She accused her
his attorney. His attorney.
No way.
She accused him of, I don't know if it was a full-on grape. I've heard that story though, that he was accused of sexual impropriety with respect to him.
Girls like this are so scary.
Yeah, there were attorneys that I know that were afraid to have contact with her because they didn't want to be accused of some stupid shit like that. It's like, who is this lady? She's accusing Woodnick? Who? Woodnick? So, they got to be. Hey, by the way, y'all have some super chats.
We do.
Redondo Beach is trying to get in. Bruce, the Mooch, is in the chat.
Hey.
Yeah. By the way, if you're watching this on my channel, I'm on with Amy and Kelly. Talk. What do you guys? It's Talk time
with Amy Boston and Kelly.
Yeah, these folks, they have like 880 something subscribers, but their show is way better than that. They deserve to be monetized. And so if you're tuning in, they're the ones running the show right now. So they're in charge of all the comments. I'm a guest on their show. I'm trying to get them.
We're not used to having super chats.
Oh, well, they're going to get ready because once that hits, it hits, and then it just never stops. And then it's a whole different thing.
Nice background. Thanks for entertaining me this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Redondo's a regular of mine. She's been through some stuff, that young lady.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, well, being that one of the reasons I kind of hooked on to, she felt bad for her dad. He was elected in San Francisco.
Yeah.
We decided to do the Laura Owens story today, and you've hopped on with us, and we're doing. But I did a stream on Puff Daddy on Friday, and I was kind of like on my soapbox about the abuse of men toward women, and I mentioned, I said, but women can abuse men just as bad. There's like emotional and there's physical and whatever. But this flipping the sides of, a man can have to abuse women, but this is how sick women can abuse men. These men are forever changed because of this lady, because she just has nothing else. Like, don't you have a hobby? Don't you have a job? Like, go do something.
Yeah, it's horseback riding, but she still decides to.
And you know what blew my mind too? That huge basketball belly that she had, and then all of a sudden she said she had a miscarriage, and there was nothing to like show for the unfertile.
No medical. When they did a medical test, there was a very famous test that come back to show there was little to no fetal DNA, meaning she was never ever pregnant. It was all bullshit.
But she kept saying it was not valid, that they were still running it.
I mean, she brought in an expert to say that, well, normally when there's elevated HCG, then 99% certainty that is a positive pregnancy test. And then this other Dr. Medchill, I think it was, comes in and says, yeah, that's not the primary indicator. And plus, if we know that there's other factors present, other reasons for elevated HCG, it's even less of a factor. And then she brought in all of these other reasons why she could have elevated HCG, and basically said that her taking one pregnancy test and not ever going to the doctors and all this other stuff leads me to believe that she was full of shit. She didn't say that specifically, but I'm paraphrasing.
Right. I mean, she was like, I have two OBGYNs. I have Mr. Higley or Dr. Higley and somebody else and blah, blah, blah. And then I like skip forward, like, the next
never
hearing.
saw it.
She had the appointments ready, but she never went. So she's playing like tomato with the defense lawyer. And she's like, well, I did have the appointment. And she's like, no, but you didn't go, ma'am. You didn't go to these appointments.
Well, it's funny. Every woman that I've spoken to about this case that have had children is like, there's a whole protocol. So, okay, you figure out that you're pregnant, great. Then there's prenatal care. You take prenatal vitamins, like the first 9 to 12 weeks are the most critical. And there's special things you do. You're like getting follow-up checkups like every 4 to 6 weeks or something like that.
Right.
I'm just going off trying to remember from what my wife was going through. She was on
you have your anatomy ultrasound at 18 to 20 weeks.
Yeah. And then,
diabetes tests.
Getting to 12 weeks is like a special milestone because like you're out of the danger zone. And then we're like more into normal.
Definitely viable. Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that she did none of those things was a red flag to the judge specifically. Guys, just look at her patient portal. Yeah.
She gives everybody her access to the patient portal, right?
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Like, here, you have a password. You have a password.
You know what? I'm going to share with you guys the emails that she sent to me.
Oh my God, please do. Give me all the tea. I love the juice.
Very first.
Yeah, I was telling Amy that, Sarah. I was telling Amy that today. I said, did you notice she was drinking a Monster Energy drink while she was 24 weeks pregnant during court?
Well, and not for nothing. Like I have one child. I had a high risk pregnancy, and at 20 weeks, you have your scan, and by then, like you would have a baby. Even if like heaven forbid, like she did end up miscarrying at that age, at that stage, you would have to have like a DNC. It's not just like nothing, you know what I mean? And she was huge. Like she had to have gotten one of those like Mrs. Doubtfire fat suits off of Amazon.
She might have. I don't know. I mean, I'll just tell you this: that the criminal investigation with this case is well, I don't know what they have in discovery, but they definitely did an independent investigation. One of the things we were wondering is, I wonder if when they were doing their investigation, they found her moon bumper or something, or like a purchase off of eBay for like a fat.
They did search her house. I mean, they did all that stuff. There was no death certificates. There was nothing. She tried to say that she lost the babies before 24 weeks. So she thought she was 24 weeks. She had no idea she lost the babies.
How convenient.
Earlier, she said. And
she was being encouraged by her attorney, David.
It was Tar Heel. Yeah, she had no medical records. The only thing she had was she did one blood test for HCG and it was like 102, and she admitted to doctoring it.
Right. So yeah, I forgot about that shit. How about that quack OBGYN that was up there being like, so Echard's lawyer was up there and he was like, so if they didn't actually have penetration, do you think that it's likely that she would get pregnant? And the guy was like, well, I thought it was so funny. He's like, you spew a little before, you spew a little after. I can't say. It's like, well, no, sir. Like,
I don't know if any of you folks are married. Well, I think that you guys are. But imagine that your husband comes to you and says, "Hey, look, she says she's pregnant with my kid. There's no possible way because there's no penetration. She sat on the toilet seat or something, or like it was the humidity was as such that my sperms evaporated and ended up in her
they
uterus."
fucking jumped.
Yeah, it was the immaculate conception via 2025. Come on, man.
The fiber sonogram. Oh, Rob, I was on Dave's live with him or I was watching it with Dave and Megan when they found the fiber logo, and I was like, "This is not really happening right now, is it? Like, this is crazy."
I mean, she could have like collected his sperm and saved it, but even then, wouldn't that have had to been like, you have to have it like, what, you're gonna use a fucking turkey baster? Like, what's happening there? Like, you can, you can't do with it. Yeah,
that's what the doctor said. They're like basketball players; they dribble before they shoot.
Come on, Jesus, he did say that. He did say that, man.
On the stand.
I feel like that would like drastically reduce the odds of a conception if you're having to like handle the sperms and like insert them in turkey baster and then do the thing. I'm not a scientist.
It seems like a lot of work. It's just like,
I mean,
a lot that could go wrong, like contamination of.
Candy's laughing at me.
I don't know. Anyway, I got on my screen.
Yeah,
if you guys want to share it, my email that I got from Laura Owens. This is literally a year ago, almost exactly, May 21st, 2024. She says, "Hey, my name is Laura Owens. I'm reaching out regarding the situation involving Clayton Echard, as I am the woman who was the paternity case against him. I saw your interaction with Dave Neal on Twitter," which was funny because I had not interacted with Dave Neal at that time. But she said she saw that. I was like, okay, I wanted to provide you some clarity and context about what's happening. For the last 9 months, Neal has been obsessively fixated on my personal life, creating a relentless smear campaign against me. Between his daily YouTube videos, twice daily podcasts, daily Patreon live streams, he has produced hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of content about me. His behavior has crossed well into harassment. Oh, could you hear my kids in the background?
You're fine. We all
we're good, honey. Yeah, we all got them. We're good.
I know. It's been flagged by the LA District Attorney as odd and vexing. And by the way, that's not a thing. Like, DAs don't just flag stuff officially as odd and vexing. Neal's followers have become disturbingly cult-like, echoing his every word and action. He's now encouraging them to mass email media outlets, including yours, with a narrative filled with distortions about my life and legal matters. I'm reaching out to set the record straight on a few things that he has his fans and email. So here are the things. Harassment claims. Neal's email falsely claims I have filed a lawsuit for harassment against him. In reality, I've only sought an injunction against harassment due to his relentless and invasive behavior. She's talking about.
She asked for an injunction, but she still wanted him to talk to her.
Yeah, she motioned to compel lunch, which is fair because I guess they're in litigation. I don't know even what she meant by that, but if she wanted the attorneys to talk or him and Clayton, still.
She said, I still want to have contact with him. He can still email me, but I want a restraining order.
She also talks about the identical allegations theory. So the narrative suggests I've made identical allegations against 3 other men, which is completely untrue, except for, and I'll go through like the list of identical allegations if we want to.
Please do, yeah.
For Clayton, all my relationships involved mutual acknowledgement of sexual intercourse. Usually that's a mutually acknowledgeable thing when you have sexual intercourse with somebody.
Yeah,
it'd be weird.
I hope you remember you were there.
Unless it's like a Bill Cosby situation or something. You know?
Exactly, didn't.
And I even dated 2 of these men for over 2 years, and for a year after the pregnancies. Initially, Clayton acknowledged our intercourse. He never acknowledged that. Never, ever, ever did he acknowledge it. There might have been a period of time where he was wondering, was I so high that I just forgot? But even that, he's never waffled from this idea that he's never had intercourse with her, ever, ever, ever. He said under oath in a deposition, yeah, I never had intercourse. There was no waffling on his part. I forgot where I left off, which was not consensual. He acknowledged our intercourse, which was not consensual. This is the dangerous part, man.
Right.
Not only did they not have penetrative sex, but she's claiming that they did, and she did not consent.
Right.
I guess trying to victimize herself in the off chance that you might think that she's full of shit about the pregnancy claims.
100%. It's the poor me card. Don't you see how sad I am? Poor me. Poor me. Look what they did to me. It's like classic, like in my opinion, allegedly covert narcissist behavior.
I don't know if you remember.
Karen Reed trial too.
What happened?
We have a fake victim in the Karen Reed trial too.
Yeah, we do.
Oh,
Turtle Boy has a girl that the O'Keefes used against him, basically, so that when he got arrested, he was arrested because of her, and they have court in June, but we call her fake victim. We don't call her name. Her name is fake victim. So that's what and that's why I wanted to do this, because I told Amy. So Liam was in the hospital on. Oh, I'm sorry. Is it too loud? Let me see if I can do it.
Oh, is it Mike? You seem okay to me.
I don't even know how to do it.
You're good.
Is that better? So Liam was in the hospital on Friday. My 11-year-old. So Amy did the show we were supposed to do Diddy together. She ended up doing it, which was amazing. And Lucas helped her. So they did that. And I was like, you know what, let's do the flip side of it. Let's take it and say, okay, we've done how men can control women. Let's do because we're going to finish our Diddy one on Friday. But I said, let's do Mondays like a special and do the flip side of how women could do this to men. Because it's not just one way. It's not just one way. It happens on both ends. And it's sad to watch the manipulation, especially when you have genuine men who genuinely care about people. And she targeted Clayton because he was the prior bachelor. She targeted him knowing that he was in that area, that he had become a real estate agent. And that's why she reached out to him to begin with. So let me
put it this way. No, either one of you two ladies were ever coming to my office and, you put on like the tears and stuff and you start crying and telling me that you're the victim of some horrible essay or something.
Lucas,
I missed that chat. It said, wake
Omar up when Kelly shuts up. He's going to get banned. That's what's going to happen.
Lucas is a staple in our chat.
What I was going to say is, if you guys came into my office and told me some stuff like that, I would believe you. I mean, what else am I going to do? I mean, why would she fake it?
Yeah.
Until
she is very believable.
I mean, but for that matter, you can't just disregard when somebody has like an emotional outburst connected to a story. You can't. I got to say that I've been an attorney long enough that I take it with a grain of salt, that I never always in the back of my mind, look, it's very possible that this lady is lying through her teeth. And I got to be ready for that as well, because when that happens, I've had that happen before where I was representing people that were making false allegations against people. And then when I would question them on it and like directly confront them on that and say, look, I can't walk into a court and say this because I know this, and they're going to bring up that, and you're going to look like a liar and you're going to lose custody of your children. And then they're like, you know what? I'm just going to get another attorney. It's like, okay, I think that's for the best. So,
yeah. Well, her actual attorney that she had in the beginning of everything, Corey Keith, right? Mm-hmm. He actually he put in a filing that she lied to him.
Well, it wasn't that he wasn't saying that she lied directly. What he was saying was that, look, at the time that I filed my stuff, my declarations, my representations to the court, I didn't know that these other facts were true. And so in the interest of candor, I just want it to be known, if you're using my assertions for any reason in this case, just know my assertions would be different had I known everything that everybody knows now. It's basically what he said.
Oh, he's in the middle of
call her a liar because he can't really do that because of you still own duty even to your former clients. But
I think he knew she was.
Oh, for sure he knows. But she's had like 3 or 4 other attorneys before this Jingers character. Gingras was the only one that was willing to turn a blind eye to the bullshit and let her carry on, I guess. If you ask my opinion, I would say that David Gingras, her current attorney, at least in the family law case, had ulterior motive in that he just wanted to have a high profile case to get his name out there and whatever, become famous himself on this marginally interesting, marginally celebrity case involving the former Bachelor Clayton Echard. And here's Laura Owens. And so, but in doing that, he's so thoroughly destroyed Laura Owens' credibility. And I honestly believe that had he not gotten involved, this would never have evolved into criminal indictments against Laura Owens. It never would have. I just don't think it would.
No,
people all the time in family law.
I feel like she'd be doing this to other people. She had 7 lawyers. She's on her 8th lawyer now. Sadly, I know because she lived 5 minutes from me. And then she moved to the jail, which is 10 miles from me. So now she's actually suing her ex-husband for alimony, even though she's a convicted murderer. So I don't understand how that works.
And this is I felt really bad for that.
The Sarah Boone case. I was like, who's that? Oh yeah, Sarah Boone.
Yeah, Sarah Boone. She's suing her ex-husband for alimony while she's in jail or in prison.
Right.
Leopards don't change their spots. Like these, if you're an abuser, you're an abuser. Like what Laura Owens is doing to these men, is making women who actually go through these things not believable, right? Because even like you said, Omar, like if a woman comes into your office with the tears and this and that, you want to believe them, right? But because the people like Laura who have all these false claims against people and then go as far as to litigate them and try to get these men hemmed up, Mike was saying in one of his interviews that he can't get the jobs that he wants because of the restraining orders and the court reports and like all that kind of stuff. And it's heartbreaking. It's really sad. And this is what makes women like, Cassie Ventura in the Puff Daddy situation. Like she was so afraid to even come forward. And a lot of times women who are abused aren't so readily accessible to be like batting off that all these men are abusing them and getting them pregnant and. It's fucking wild.
So those are two very different dynamics though. Like the Cassie situation, Diddy was responsible for crafting her career in many respects. And he held the puppet strings to who received a career or not in Hollywood, which is the only reason I could think of. So many people were willing to turn a blind eye to the bullshit that he was doing. Like what blows my mind about that, like I'm sure you guys all know about that clip with Mike Tyson, where like he's sitting next to Mike Tyson, like 1980s Mike Tyson. And he's putting his hand on his knee or something, like he's a female. And Mike Tyson kind of grabs his hands like, hey, buddy.
He like sat sideways.
Yeah, what is that about?
And Mike's got a female voice too, so it kind of makes it funny.
Yeah, I mean, but you would expect Mike Tyson, especially of that time period, to murder that guy afterwards. There's a reason why he didn't. And it probably has a lot to do with his entourage, with his connections, with his ability to make or break your life, essentially. If you equate you having this successful career with all the riches and the things that you want, that is a powerful, manipulative, compelling reason to not kill Diddy in that scenario. Right. Yeah. Cassie was under the same spell. Neo, Usher, all of these other people that were under his spell, under his record label, he was playing puppet strings with people in the music industry. And it's really no different than Harvey Weinstein.
No,
it might not have been as crazy. Weinstein was more of a creep in like a personal one-on-one matter. Diddy was having all of these freak offs and these parties and making you do things against that you wouldn't normally do and taking video of it to manipulate you and make sure that he knew that you knew that he had dirt on you. What's this comment say? If Mike Tyson put his hand on my knee, I'd let him fill me up without saying a word.
Lucas. You guys, if you're in our chat, go subscribe
Yeah.
to Filtered Lawyer. Go like and subscribe to
Yes.
him. He's great.
Cat Williams and Wendy Williams was on Puffy. Puffy got. I don't want to change the subject back to Puffy, but he got Wendy Williams fired from her spot as a radio person in New York because she had something on him or whatever. But I think like what I mean is I think where I was going was like, you know, this Laura lady is like faking being a victim, and then like real victims who really are getting abused and bad things happen to them or whatever. Like a lot of times real victims like don't even come forward. They just kind of like, back into the victim.
Well, I mean, look at the ones that she's had prior who haven't come forward. They're victims and they don't.
Right.
I'll give you some background on that though. So look, sexual assault allegations have been a thing for hundreds of years.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be the case in America back in like the early 1900s that it was illegal. It was not a crime for a husband to grape his wife. She was expected to be subservient to his sexual whims. That didn't become a thing really until like the 30s or 40s, and not even in all states. It gradually started to turn over.
Right.
But even with those attitudes in place, then it was always about the culture of, well, of course he did that to you. Look how you were dressed. You were asking for it and this and that.
Right.
We've had to evolve through that mentality. Then it came to a point where we get to the beginning of the Me Too movement where it starts to flip the other way, but it went a little bit too far. And that people took advantage
100%.
of it. And then it was cool to be a victim. And then they, you know, with the spread of information and the way that things were moving back then, it became a well-known weapon for women to manipulate court cases, to manipulate other people's lives with the threat of false allegations of sexual misconduct. Her conduct like this started 11 years ago. That would have been, 2015? That's at the heart of Me Too, Harvey Weinstein. Right. And people it was no longer apropos to suggest that a woman might be lying. There was like a good 2-3 year period where if you suggested somebody might be lying, you were canceled. I mean, that's changed, and so I'm not sure if
Amber Heard changed that. I believe, like in my mind, Amber Heard changed that because she brought Johnny Depp to trial with that bogus, all that craziness, and he flipped it around and was like, no, not today, Satan.
Well, I mean, you have to feel bad for her.
I punched you. I didn't slap you. I didn't punch you. I slapped you. Don't be a baby is what she was saying.
But her dog stepped on a beat, guys. That was the most heart, you know, like the most warming, you know, you couldn't deal with it after that. Like she was so bad because she had her dog stuff to be. Actually, he's the reason, Johnny Depp is the reason I started watching more court cases because I was at St. Jude with Liam by myself. So there I had my earplugs in and my earphones in and would just listen to him from doctor's appointments to doctor's appointments. And so, and then I got stuck into it. And then I found the Karen Reed trial, which that sucked me. That was in January 2024, or I found that and I am neck deep in that. Me and Amy both, and quite a few of us. And like when you said you can't just change things on the stand. Well, Lally changes the DA prosecutor. He just changes times whenever he feels like it. So,
well, he's allowed to do that strategically. You just can't do that as a witness.
But in the middle of trial,
yes,
you could just do that.
You're losing. I mean. Because the questions are not evidence, the answers to the questions are evidence. And so if he asks a question to gain a specific angle that he's looking for, even if he wants to change it, I mean, that's just trial strategy.
It's also fascinating.
It's that one. If you ever want to know about Karen Reed, we could do a whole nother thing on that. But
we got to do another show on Karen Reed because I got to get caught up over there. I wanted to do like a full-on trial recap with her.
Amy just went to a standout yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I did.
Her and her little boy.
Me and my son. Yeah, we went. Yeah, Karen Reed's crazy, but let's get back to your email. So what does this? Let's get back to Laura Owens.
Oh yeah, so she's talking about identical allegations. Talked about ultrasound allegations, claims about a fabricated ultrasound with Clayton, that I had a fiber logo, are baseless. They're not. We have all the evidence. There's like all kinds of evidence on the internet about an ultrasound that she sent for the purposes of proving that she was pregnant. And in the background, you could see a fiber logo on it because she stole it from somewhere. She talked about family court involvements. Contrary to Neal's claims, the only family court case I've been involved in pertains to Clayton, challenging Neal's portrayal of me as frequently litigious in family court. I'm assuming what Neal was talking about was the frequent orders of protection that she has sought in family court against various other men. And to that regard, this statement is misleading. And she offers me some clarity, to provide some clarity. Here are a couple video clips from Clayton's deposition. Pregnancy test. Clayton acknowledges the pregnancy test he purchased for me, taken in front of me, was positive. That's from a depot. I'm not going to play those because she did ask me in this email not to share those things. So I'm not gonna, but they're out there if you search around hard enough. There was an abortion request. Clayton expresses his desire for me to have an abortion, which contradicts his later claims that we never had intercourse. And I forgot specifically what he said. All I remember is from that deposition is that there was never a period of time where Clayton ever equivocally stated that he didn't have, or that he did have intercourse with Laura. Never. And to the extent that he was pregnant, he was like kind of indifferent about it. Yeah, whatever you have in there is not my kid. And if it is my kid, go ahead and get an abortion, whatever. But he was always looking at it from the perspective, like, there's no effing way she's pregnant with my child. When he filed his response in this paternity petition, he straight up said, this is a bogus, frivolous paternity claim. I want her sanctioned. And the only reason why she wasn't able to dismiss it was because the court was obligated to explore Clayton Echard's allegations that this was a frivolous claim. That's why it got as far as it did. And that's why it's now a felony indictment.
My thing is too, is like how, even if she was pregnant, let's just throw a bone here and say that she was pregnant.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it was his kid. They're like, oh, paternity. Like, what were these tests just pregnancy tests stating the fact that she is in fact pregnant? Because he never even claimed to have had actual intercourse with her. Right. So whether she was pregnant or not, I feel like is obsolete. And the whole bringing him to court and all this kind of stuff, like, why didn't a judge just say, come back after you have the kid and we'll do an actual paternity test then?
Well, because you're allowed to bring a paternity case while you're pregnant. They don't have to wait. And what they'll do is they'll craft orders that will be effective when the child is ascertained. So when it's born. So they'll make straight up custody and visitation orders. So, all right. So the first part, step one, child is in newborn stage. And so visitation on these days and hours, maybe no overnights just yet because it's so delicate, and then they'll change it every few months as the kid gets older. They'll try to do whatever they're going to do. But the other thing they might do is order a paternity test to establish that Clayton's the dad. In some cases, they can do that before the child is born, but more realistically, they'll wait until after and they just carry on the case like that. But they don't have to wait until the child is born to bring this case, and so that's why they didn't do that specifically.
Yeah,
well,
that
I feel
was
like
mind-boggling to me.
She got like Judge Judy. He didn't know what he was talking about. So when Clayton was trying to say stuff, and then I sent the clip to Amy. I said, "Listen to this," because he's like, "Well, she called me before." Oh wait, I don't think I could talk into that. And then like, shut up real quick. So it's like she was contacting the judge prior to their hearing. And so she probably already got in, like, she's very convincing. She is a very convincing.
Her herself was contacting the judge. Isn't there something against that too?
Yeah, she wasn't contacting the judge, like calling her on the phone.
Oh, okay.
But there were I guess in the pleadings there were requests to do different things, but no, she wasn't like texting her or anything like that. That would be
Shoot.
Does Bruce want to come up? Because I know Bruce knows a lot of this too.
Yeah, shoot him you know what? I don't know if I could shoot him like I think you'd have to do it, or maybe I could
I could put it in the link in the chat just as long as Bruce is the only one that uses it.
Well, that's unlikely. I'll tell you what.
Ours are pretty good with that.
Right.
I'm gonna send him the same.
We also don't have Omar's audience. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me. Yeah, I've done that once. I once sent a link to somebody that I thought was somebody completely different.
She did contact Judge Judy.
Oh, she did? Oh, maybe
yeah.
I'm
the video that let me see. I'll share it on my computer because I sent it to.
If that is the case, Omar, if she really did like contact the judge herself, like through email or whatever, like that, that's not appropriate. Would she? The judge obviously would have to tell both sides that, you know, Miss Owens emailed me over the weekend. So like,
yeah, the judge.
He didn't. He was like, can't talk about that.
All right, here, I'm going to send this to Bruce real quick so he could maybe jump in. I'm sure I'm getting some of these facts wrong. Bruce has been on this case for like 2 years. He knows all about it.
I love it. It's perfect. Doing more than I do. This case, man.
Yeah, I know. I tried to tell her about it, and I was like, you know what? Just watch this. Just watch this. And she was like, okay. And then it all came out. And then we've been sending other videos back and forth.
God, I've been thinking this whole time you're saying Judge Judy.
Judge Judy. DOODY.
Not Judge Judy.
Duty.
I was like, Judge Judy, what the fuck is happening? Oh my God.
Link.
There are emails with Judge Judy.
All right. I try to get
because we got so far off track, Omar. We have a Bruce.
Bruce is here.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What's up, Moose?
Hi.
How you doing?
Hey, Bruce.
How's it going?
This is, I actually have, this is the part with Judge Judy. I shared this with Amy today.
I think there's actually 3 interesting cases of potential ex parte communication.
This is just a quick clip of it. This is like,
within the October OOP hearing.
Hold on.
Oh,
he looks like he should have a bow tie on.
There he goes.
I think I'm going to sustain the objection for lack of foundation. She came to me for I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I think at some point you accept the fact that she's pregnant, but you're still, and you have the right to still say, I don't believe this. This is my child. I'm going to find that.
No, so you guys are right. What was that about?
She came to him before, and he was like,
She promised him some dome. She was like, sir.
Sometimes with these orders of protection or injunctions against harassment, you have to go, when you file it, you actually go in front of a judge first,
right,
for this evidentiary hearing. So it may be that there was a procedure where she did talk to Judge Judy legitimately, legally, rather than in an ex parte fashion. But of course, he seems very suspicious about it. So that's one instance. The other instance was in a Greg Gillespie case where she did literally email the judge alone ex parte, and the clerk was like, we got to include all the lawyers and everybody on here because you can't do this.
Yeah.
So that happened. The third one was in the Clayton case. She sent an email, not particularly to the judge may have been included, but to Woodnick and Clayton saying, hey, if you don't drop this case now, I'm going to sue you for other things. So that was another instance of, manipulation or what would you call it, Omar? When you try to get something from someone else, coercion or something like that.
So for me, I didn't want to, like I told Amy a while ago, I wanted to go over this case, but I didn't want to do it until there was more, like, because she has gone after so many creators who talk
I'm
about
not worried about that anymore. I think
not,
she's kind of
now that she's been indicted, I'm like, okay, we're cool.
Yeah.
Like, she's got an indict as all alleged. I mean, that's why I did put a trigger warning up, just because I have lost. I've had a stillborn baby. I've lost an ectopic pregnancy, so I've lost 2 children. I also have 5 living, so I don't know how that happens. I mean, kids just happen to show up in my house. Apparently, I don't know. And so my oldest is 26, my youngest is 9. And so in the beginning, when I first found Dave Neal's comments on it, I was a little more like triggered by it just because of the stuff that I've lost. But then watching it and getting into it, then I just started getting pissed. And on top of that, I've been scammed by a girl who faked pregnancy. And we actually took her to Dr. Phil. And that just went even crazier, because she flipped out on stage. And one day I'll have to send you guys the links to those. He did 2 episodes. So the first episode was 2 days. So they did what she did to this guy and then the family and friends. And I was part of it because I was in a group for moms that had pregnancy after a loss for over 3,000 women in it. Just don't be dribbled. Okay, I'll take it.
dribble. Just don't dribble. Huh?
So she
Nice and tidy.
She ended up stalking me. I had to end up having to try to get a restraining order against her, and I couldn't get the restraining order at first. They told me, even though I could pull it out, I have a 4-inch binder of every post, every YouTube doxing me and my family, my husband's ex, my ex, which, by the way, my ex does live in Gilbert, Arizona. So if he wants to like hang out with her, I'll be glad to hook them up.
Well,
I mean,
maybe it'll be pen pals when she's sitting in a jail.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I
She's gonna be in prison.
It'd be a romance made in heaven together.
That was the thing. Like, there's dating apps for inmates. That's wild.
There is.
Like, that has to be a mental illness. I'm sorry. Like, these women, these single girls that are like wifed up by people in prison sites, like that has to be a legit mental illness.
We have a Karen trial. She is an anti-Karen Reed girl, and she is pen pals with Chris Watts. And she has literally stated that she believes that Shanann and the kids created their own death, that they did this to themselves, because she stands up for Chris Watts.
Like, I know there's people out there like that, but there's sick freaking people.
Sick
like
people.
That is how could you possibly come to that conclusion based on what happened? That's just Jesus.
Yeah.
We have gone so far off.
I know. We were once talking about Laura Owens, and we ended up on Chris Watts.
Owens, Diddy, Watts, and then of course Amy Hicks, which is mine. But so whenever it started, I was actually watching. So I've been stuck in the Karen Reed trial. I was watching Karen Reed, and then I found some of Dave's videos in the evening, and would get stuck on those. And then I would go back and forth. And then when the trial was coming on, it was like right in the middle of Karen Reed. So I was like, shit, I have to not watch Karen Reed today because I have to spend 4 hours watching Laura Owens. Then I got to go catch up with the Karen Reed trial. And I was like, dude, between Laura Owens and Karen Reed, this true crime stuff is a full-time job.
That was a wild summer. Yeah.
I'll be right back. I'm going to beverage myself.
You're fine.
Do it.
Like, sorry, babe. My husband shut the door. I guess I'm being too loud. But with Bruce, I remember you and Dave sitting in the van, sweating your asses off, just trying to like get everything going. And I mean, how many people just showed up to support Clayton was a big deal. I mean, they had a flow over room.
Yeah, and the interesting thing was when Laura is complaining on the stand about the JFC crew there were only like 4 people that weren't witnesses or relatives of witnesses or other court employees in the actual courtroom. There were only 4.
Really?
You know,
Everybody
Megan,
else-
Lauren.
No. Well, they had pressed the camera pass. Megan had the camera pass with her cousin, and Lauren and one of her friends that was a local there, a video producer, they had the video camera pass. So
Okay.
they were sort of the media, and everybody else was a witness or family of the witnesses and that sort of thing. There were only 4 sort of just unrelated people from the public in the actual courtroom. Everybody else was in the overflow room.
Including the judge's dad.
Yes.
Wait, why was the
I mean,
judge's
we-
dad there? Someone
Wanted
make that
to
make sense.
see this case because it was that messed up.
I mean, if your kid is a
That's
judge on
awesome.
a case with this much sort of public awareness, it might be something to go watch. There's nothing illegal about it, of course.
Right.
I
I,
think-
I find that
I can't wait to
hysterical.
watch the shit show or something like that, and everyone thought it was hilarious.
I guess
But-
they called it a circus. Megan called it a shit
Circus.
show. But,
Oh,
yeah.
Megan, it was Megan.
So can I ask you a question, Bruce?
Mhm,
Now,
yeah.
I just want to clarify.
Mhm.
Do you have your own channel as well? Like you went into all of these hearings. I'm assuming that you're from that area. And what got you into Laura Owens?
No, I'm in Oregon actually. I flew down.
You traveled.
I traveled twice down there. Once because Dave did a comedy show where we had Clayton do a Q&A at the end. So I went down there with him, sort of like bodyguard security, because it was our first time going there, and we were like, is she going to cause trouble here for this show? And then the second time was the June 10th hearing. And so I went down there to help, and also, so Lauren was using some of my gear, tech gear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember all that. And
Mhm.
so Lauren and I, we only live about 3. When you see us go on and off screen, it's real quick. It's usually because a child is doing something.
Of course.
I know, my camera's
One
just all
thing we
jacked
all
up. I
say,
don't know.
one thing about our show, our channel is we are moms, and it's going to be crazy. And we have both of us have ADHD, so we're going to be all over the place. So,
Mhm, mhm.
That's why I didn't feel so bad doing this from
Fair.
home instead of going all the way to you. I was like, no.
Oh, no. do it from home. One thing that we love is we want it to be real. We all have families. We want it to be real. We want it to be real life. And if you got Caden, her son will come on and scream, like and subscribe, and he
Just tried. He just
so
tried.
he was like, "Oh, Mom, let me in." But yeah, I mean, we do it for home, and that's we want. This is started for fun for us because we could talk about the Karen Reed trial. We stream the Karen Reed trial during the week, but we also don't want to be stuck on the Karen Reed trial. So we're trying to do other, so that our channel actually will grow to do other true crime, because I'm a true crime freak. She's a true crime freak. So that's why we kind of were like, let's do the Diddy. And then I was like, let's flip it to this one. I text Omar and I was like, do you want to come on? Because I mean, you guys are like the ones that've been involved from the beginning. So I can tell you as a watcher and a viewer of what I've seen, but to actually be involved in it and know everything. I mean, so thanks for coming up, and thanks for coming up out of nowhere for us to really.
Bruce is always around, man. He's always there to provide fill in the holes.
The apprehension you talked about before, that was a real thing. In the early days, Dave was the only person really covering this case after around when the Sun article came out. And there was a lot of chatter on Reddit, of course, but in terms of coverage, Dave was the only one doing it. And we had moments where we were, he and I would talk during happy hour or whatever. And it was like, should we just ditch this whole thing? Like, what is it? Like, how do we get this thing moving forward? And finally, some folks like Megan Fox and Law Talk with Mike picked up the story and talked to Dave. And that really started the snowball of more coverage on YouTube and Instagram and everything. Yeah.
Did Dave pick it up because it was a Bachelor related thing? Because he covered the Bachelor.
Yes.
On his show.
Yeah. So Dave's a stand-up comic, and he had during the sort of the quarantine and everything, his YouTube channel picked up because there was another court case related to The Bachelor with a stalking harassment case that he covered.
Gosh.
He actually went, nobody else in the Bachelor community would talk about it in as much detail. So his channel picked up when he talked about this Colton Underwood case a few years ago. And so it was almost like, you know, this Colton Underwood legal case 2.0 with Clayton. And we didn't really realize that she would do these things like take him to LA court, make all these threats and everything. So it was a real stressful time.
Jacqueline, yes, we do watch. We are big Judy Ron and Ed Wallace fans. They are amazing. I take their quiz every Friday. If you don't know about it, you should. They have a quiz on YouTube.
I love Ed Wallace. I could listen to him talk all day long.
And you want to see him get pissed off, talk about a botched investigation, because he is not happy with that.
Sure. So wait, hold on. Let's time out for a second. Omar, we interrupt you so many times with that email that she sent you. We didn't even get through like
Can we
kind of go back to that and like what happened? What was that exchange like? Like were you like, get the fuck out of here, you're a weirdo? Or were you like,
when I got this email, I was like, I don't know who the fuck this lady is, Laura Owens. And then there was like random people texting me from, I don't remember specifically who was first, but there was definitely people from like Reddit that were reaching out, asking for me to show interest in the case. I should talk to Dave Neal. And then I get this email. It's like, okay, well, I guess I'm definitely going to talk about it. I mean, who even is this lady? And at first, when I got this email, I was sympathetic to her. I was like, okay, so she's involved in a paternity case. And I started looking at these text messages. And when I first glanced at the text messages, I was reading like an exchange between her and Echard. And Echard kind of like in the wrong context was coming off as like a douchebag because he was like obviously not believing that this was a real thing. And like he had other issues with her. And so I was looking at her as like a completely sympathetic person in all of this. And it wasn't until literally I did that live for 4.5 hours where I sat down and just started going through all of the evidence. It's like, holy shit with this lady. I mean, obviously Dave Neal, he tipped me off on like what I was going to find. He's like, look, I don't want to like tell you any one way or another. I'm not saying it to follow me, go out and find your own information and form your own opinions. But this is what I know. This is what's happened to me. He talked about some of what was happening to him, how he's been attacked by her and her current attorney. And there's all kinds of weirdness going on back then. And so I said, all right, cool. And so that's what led up to that. But then I get this email. I'll share it again with you guys so we could like finish it. Because then Gingras right after that decided to text me as well. All right. So this is
like share her Dropbox on.
She did. She shared with me some of the links to like the deposition, for example, and then asked me not to talk about it or share with anyone. So I'll still honor that, but it's stuff that's already out there. I'm pretty sure like on Schnitzel Ninja's channel, she has all the deposition stuff posted.
I heard she didn't go up to some depositions. Like she just like chose.
They had to compel her to.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the case. It didn't benefit her. I'll tell you what. So she continues this. I don't know. Is it on the screen yet or no?
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. So
she and her lawyer claimed that they were trying to get the judge to do some sort of gag order to keep a lot of the information unpublic. And so that was their rationale for skipping the first deposition on her side.
Bullshit.
But normally the opposing party does not attend the deposition. It's just the lawyers. But she attended Clayton's deposition and I guess just sort of stared at him creepily the whole time.
No, that's the thing with depositions. You don't have to attend as the opposing party, but more often than not, they want to be there for that explicit purpose, to sit there and stare at the opposing party. So I could see Laura doing that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like, they don't have to be there. They don't want to.
Her lawyer actually released his deposition online?
I don't know.
There were clips, not the entire thing. We've never seen the full deposition.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We've seen partial transcripts and filings, and we've seen clips that they put on YouTube. that I guess was a little,
I
he didn't
definitely have
supposed to do
clips.
that.
Could I even open one? Is it still like, do I still have
Yeah,
access?
he was notorious for
go
taking
ahead.
things like deposition clips or pieces of evidence or filings before they had hit the docket and just putting them out on Twitter or his blog, which is, the problem was he was trying to do a PR campaign and be her legal counsel, which I think was ill-advised.
Oh, he released Mike Marraccini's deposition.
Yeah.
By the way, before I forget, Lauren Knighty is in town. She's been here for about an hour.
I met her. I asked her
over tonight. We're supposed to do the swimming race tomorrow.
Oh, I heard.
So
I love that.
See where that goes. I told her that I threw my back out.
Do you guys remember?
What?
Do you guys remember a couple months ago where Lauren said, or she released the fact that they found David's Reddit account that he said he didn't have? And remember when she freaked out and she was like, get everybody on there because there was a comment to a teenage girl.
Reddit account?
A Dingus's account. And he had made a comment to a teenage girl on the Reddit account.
Yes.
I'm the one that found that and sent it to Lauren.
So
and I was like,
he started doing a YouTube channel because he thought Twitter wasn't good enough to explain things or his blog wasn't good enough to explain things, which is kind of ironic because he spent a lot of time complaining about people making YouTube videos and then he immediately starts making YouTube videos.
What was funny about that, Bruce?
But
I think
he made a YouTube video and he was sharing the screen and you could see his login name on the screen. And of course, watching the video,
womp womp.
Instantly went to Reddit to see what his posting and comment history was and started
it was all
capturing
kinds
all
of
that.
creepy shit.
I think he deleted it later, but people.
When Lauren shared that, Bruce, I'm the one that contacted Lauren and said, "Why is he commenting on a teenage girl's Reddit?"
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
she was like, "What?" And then she all of a sudden she's like, "I'm going live," and I'm like, "Okay, I was just wondering what did I cause?" But yeah, like all of a sudden there was like a 2-hour live on his Reddit account.
Could I just ask you, ladies, what would you think about your finding out that your husband was like commenting on some 16-year-old girls?
Reddit I'd be pissed. I'd be gone.
Oh, I would be heated. What marriage? What are you talking about? I'd be calling you for divorce advice.
What state do you work in? All states or just California?
Well, I only do California for now, but
you need to start getting another one.
Big enough.
We'll send a lot of people your way.
Pretty good. I think it's a testament, though, to the power of the public scrutiny on these public court cases, because Dave Neal all by himself, one person, Clayton's lawyer all by himself, they can't figure all this stuff out in real time.
But
when you crowdsource people looking at the cases, you can get there's some signal to noise ratio there, of course, but
I'll be completely honest with you.
Look, good information.
I provide legal analysis. Like I could look at the laws and I can look at all the stuff and all the facts and I could give you my opinions. But really, the people that have cracked this case is people like Bruce, people like Schnitzel Ninja, people like you two, Laura Knighty, Dave Neal, everybody, Megan Fox going in there cracking the Fiverr logo thing. If you put this case, if you pick a fight with the internet, you're not going to win.
You're never going to win anytime. Never.
Yeah, that's the David Jenkins model. Lesson
if you guys watched the Carrie case at all the last week or so, they had a expert talking about the data of her infotainment box, and that they said that she had a 3-point turn, and then she supposedly backed up. Well, somebody the week that right before he testified found out that he had multiple CVs that were different from each other. And then found out that the college didn't even have the degree he put on there that he said he had a bachelor degree for, and he doesn't have a bachelor degree. And that got sent to the lawyers, and that's pretty much how they discredit him. Alessi annihilated him on the stand with that, because he's like, and then they found a federal case that he actually had submitted his CV to that was different than the one he sent to us. to us. Like I'm on the defense.
Shan. Oh God.
Shannon Burgess.
I went on my soapbox when Man-Shan was up at the Karen Reed thing, and just like I'm a techie, I'm a computer nerd. That's what I do for like in my real life. And hearing that guy up there, it was like the thing is, it's with these experts in any case, right? Like I'm not a lawyer. You guys know the lawyer shit. I know tech stuff. Hearing these people talk, you're like, well, you're not wrong, but you're not accurate either, bitch. So yeah.
People are calling me because I have 5,227 unread messages in my inbox.
Bro, my OCD saw that, and I was like,
let's compare. Hold on.
Triggering me, Omar.
Compare.
No.
287,779.
Well, Kelly wins then.
I do. Yes, I definitely know metadata. Yep.
All right.
What's metadata? According in Boston, that doesn't matter.
What?
So
I live in Norfolk County.
Says, just going back to Zima, she says she shared medical documents that confirm the pregnancy, and it's nothing different that came out in trial. You guys know the story with those restraining orders against those involved. I've since came to talk to one or multiple of the people that she got restraining orders against, and I know a lot more than I did back then about how bullshit they were. At 27, I was accepted in the DV brain injury program at Barrow Neurological Institute. That is a very odd thing. Like if somebody comes in my office and just starts with that, I'm immediately skeptical, because people that are genuine victims of domestic violence start with the story of their trauma. They don't start with like the accolades that came from them being a victim.
Right.
And so it's just a red flag, like immediately. And so she continues more of the stuff. And then she like has this paragraph that gave me like it caused me to give her a couple of double middle fingers. It's like, additionally, I noticed you posted my photo on your community page on YouTube, which I don't appreciate because that photo was copyrighted. I was like, fuck off. So then freaking copyright strike me then. How about that? She says, I also do not have a Wikipedia page for Justice for Clayton Echard created a wiki just for me, which is the definition of targeted harassment and bullying. The information you posted is extremely inaccurate and misleading. Is literally a picture. And honestly, I don't even remember what I posted. What could I have possibly posted at that time? But I took this as like a low-level threat, like a cease and desist letter, I remember.
Yeah.
And
she sent you one?
Well, this was it. I mean, this paragraph like was unnecessary. Like, you're trying to make friends with me. Why would you send me that? You know?
Other people have received cease and desist letters. Other people have received proactive cease and desist letters.
And that's
so
the thing.
apparently
She
mailed
not
different
her
channels. Yeah.
No, she did, but she never, not her or David Gingras, ever sent me a formal cease and desist letter saying, knock it off or I will sue. This is as close as it got. This one paragraph, the very first email I ever received from her. And then she says, my attorney, David Gingras, specializes in internet law and defamation. He is actively preparing to initiate legal actions against Dave Neal and any collaborators spreading these harmful narratives. When I heard this, when I read this sentence, like, bitch, sue me then. I'm ready. I'm ready for this.
That bitch, I got you.
Yeah, no, this caused me to go on this like 4.5 hour live stream. There was plenty of opportunity to do whatever she was going to do, and she just didn't.
Yeah, Liz Neptune.
Oh shit! Well, she included her phone number to call her, which I never. I ended up talking to her attorney actually. I responded to her and I basically just told her this. Look, I just want you to know I don't know anything about your case. In the event I do cover, my promise to you is that I will be completely objective. I have no interest in spreading lies or distorting truth. I'm very sensitive to what you're going through, as I have represented dozens of women in your position. I'm certain that you would not accept the invitation as you are currently in litigation. Because that's what normal litigants do. Like, you're in litigation, you don't go in like make a spectacle of yourself.
Yeah.
The way that David Gingras did. And currently going through it, I would be open to you possibly coming on the show to address some of the things you talked about, tell your side of the story. She says, hey, thanks for getting back to me so quickly. I really appreciate a response. And it's what I would expect from a reputable attorney like yourself. It's like, fuck off with all of that. Just
Stroking your ego.
yeah, get the fuck out of here. At
You're
this point,
so good.
I know I'm not interested in doing any interviews that might further fan the flames of distortion. They seem determined to twist any fact I presented into fiction. I'm hoping to keep this as private as possible. So fine. So that was that. And then, I wrote her a thing. I'm hoping to keep this as private as possible. So in full transparency, I hope you don't cover it. But if you do, feel free to reach out if you need clarifying and anything. So I didn't know anything about it. I just sent her these questions off the top of my head. Hey, so there's links out there.
I hope you don't cover it, but she sent you an entire email of everything down to the letter of what is going on.
Right. What she was trying to do was get me to be on her side and like be like an advocate for her that would be like on YouTube. And imagine that. Like somebody would like, I couldn't even imagine. There was people that were like pissed at me for even giving her a modicum of the benefit of the doubt because I knew nothing about the case. And they're like, fuck this guy. Laura Knighty included. Laura Knighty said that when I first ran an Omar channel, he was talking, I guess not as negatively as I should have been about Laura Owens. She was like, fuck that guy. And then she gave me a second chance. And then we become friends. And so,
oh my gosh. I don't know. I mean, I'm in the Discord all the time, and the community or some of the Redditors and everything, like we wanted people to look at this case and go in blind because
I felt the same way about Karen Reed. I wanted people who weren't from around here to look in from the outside to like confirm that we weren't crazy, right? Like, and do I just have biases or what? Yeah, I get that.
Exactly, because Dave and I would talk when it was just him covering the case, and he's like, "Look, am I missing something here? We need somebody. We need another set of eyes to objectively look at this and see if we miss something. Do we miss something? Is there something new we need to look at? Because we're open to changing our position." The problem, she does two problematic things in here. She cherry picks her story, the elements of any real story. She cherry picks the elements that she likes and does not mention any of the things she does not like. And so she creates a narrative that suits her purpose, but it doesn't tell the whole story. And that's the big thing there. And the second thing is she'll say, oh, well, Dave Neal's lying about X, Y, and Z, but she never proves that he's lying. She never says, here's a link and a timestamp. Here's what he said. And here's the evidence that proves he's wrong. Because that's what you would do from a scientific perspective, which she never did. And her lawyer never did either.
No, her lawyer did something different. Her lawyer basically just didn't address all of the evidence that was negative against her. He just pretended it didn't exist. And I'll give an example of that in these emails. So these are my questions to her. So there's links floating around. They purport to be timelines of events dating back to 2014. You've mentioned JFC movement. How much of what is contained in these links, there's a link to the Padlet. You guys can look at them yourself. And this Reddit, how much of that is bullshit? Like, is any of this evidence doctored? And what I was getting at is like some of this stuff is pretty damning against you, or like these fake text messages, because if they're not, then what have you to say to these, you know? For example, I know that you disagree with their general narrative, but are there any text messages or court documents that they posted on these links that are fabricated, false, misleading, altered? You gave testimony on November 2nd that you had taken a pregnancy test in front of Clayton. Please forgive my lack of knowledge. Is Clayton still contesting the validity of the pregnancy or denying that you took a pregnancy test in front of him, but that confirmed you were pregnant? I had no idea what the answer to that question was. But the narrative now is that, yes, she straight up pissed on that stick right in front of him because she had these elevated HCG levels. However, she got those elevated HCG levels, rather than whether it be by elevated or injectable HCG or some kind of a medical condition, I don't know, but they were elevated and not proof positive that she was pregnant. But that would explain why she was able to, in front of Clayton Echard, produce a positive pregnancy test, which is really important to know. And then I asked her, in the judge's recital of the facts, she mentioned you feared Clayton would harass the employees of the facility where you obtained your ultrasound. What were you afraid of? What did you think it was going to do? Had he harassed any of the medical facilities attending to you in the past? In other words, he said, look, where's your appointment? I want to be there. I want to go there for your ultrasound or whatever. And then she says no, or conceals the location, the time that she's going to go, because she said she thought that he was going to make a scene. It's like, how? Maybe he would have just like been there and been supportive. Is this like legitimately my baby? Is she legitimately pregnant? Did I miss something? What evidence did you have that he was going to go there to cause a scene at this ultrasound, whatever you're going to do? I asked her the restraining order against Marraccini granted in 2018 by way of stipulation. In other words, he agreed to it. I will be bound by this restraining order. It wasn't a restraining order that she obtained on the merits of the evidence, which is really important.
Yeah, he stipulated to it. He didn't agree she should have it.
Right.
Merits.
He just said, I don't give a shit. I'm not going to bother her. I don't care if you have it against me. We don't even have any kids together. So granted, whatever. And then she files for the renewal. He's up for renewal again.
Didn't she just go after Greg's renewal?
Yes. She
Did she
just
get
did
it?
renewal.
Was it approved?
He didn't really oppose it.
Yeah.
They
I have a
basically did
question.
it.
He still has time to oppose it, I believe, though.
I have a
Yeah.
question. Now that she's been indicted for the Clayton Echard thing, the men that she has restraining orders on in the past and the ones that she keeps renewing and things like that, could they file to have their restraining orders like expunged off their records because the bitch is crazy? Oh no, it stays. Or can like go moving forward, are judges more apt to be like, we're not renewing this?
Well, you have to be delicate as to the time frame because she's not guilty of anything yet. She's
Right.
just been thrown off the shelf. But the character evidence you were talking about with me earlier on, how come they couldn't introduce evidence of prior bad acts? Aren't they relevant? And my answer to that was yes, but they only had a couple of hours. Now, if like, for example, you're Gillespie or if you're Marraccini and you want to test the validity of her claims on their merits, they become wildly relevant because she's now facing criminal charges for fraudulently extorting Clayton Echard into a relationship for things involving similar fact patterns as these two gentlemen. So yes,
I would rather chew on rocks than beg a man for a relationship. Like when I read that she was like, she was like, if you date me for 2 weeks, I'll like forget about that. Like, how embarrassing. Like, oh my God.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
Right then and there, I knew she was batshit crazy.
It's not even date me. It's date me with intention.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's, if you're into linguistics, that's a qualitative assessment, not a quantitative one. So even if he had said yes, she could have said, well, I don't believe your intentions were right based on any little thing he could have done. So she could have moved the goalposts at any time. And I think that's her strategy, is to set up a system in which she can always move the goalposts in order to do more manipulation or get what she wants.
Could you imagine having like a Tinder one night stand or something? And then it just turns into this? Because it feels like they were dating for like a couple of weeks. And then next thing you know, it turns into all of this stuff. Jesus.
But they weren't. It was a one-time thing, and he told her he didn't want to have anything to do with her again after that.
Well, he said that she gave him two blowies. So did they see each other like more than like one time?
Just that one night.
Clayton was doing real
estate
work. They were doing real estate work. So they were hanging out looking at real estate properties. But this romantic encounter was one night. With Greg Gillespie, it was like 2 or 3 romantic dates, and that's all. And so Greg has been through this whole thing after just like 2 dates, maybe 3 dates.
Could you imagine?
Mike Marraccini was in a relationship longer with her, but that's a whole.
That was like 2 years.
Yeah. Whole different ball of wax. That whole thing.
I mean, imagine being with her for 2 years. Like, okay, I have to question like what's wrong with him.
Oh, I mean, look, dating crazy people
Not
is a
fully being
thing.
mean, but
I'm sure you guys have all dated crazy people, but this level
yeah.
of crazy was just
No.
a bit much, man.
I'm
I'm
a
the-
magnet for them.
I don't date crazy people. I'm the crazy one.
Oh,
What are you talking
well, shit.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Hey,
Just
knowing's half the battle, Kelly.
Laura
Knowing
Owens
is half the battle.
Yeah. Cat Lady's saying they looked at properties after their one night stand.
And then she got mad because she wanted to put an offer and he did not put the offer in. Instead, he pushed it to somebody else and she turned him in.
Yeah, he was
she probably
pushing
took
really
that as
hard
rejection.
after their one night stand for her to go talk to a different realtor. And especially since they had looked at a property and I guess they had written up an offer. He was like, look, for another realtor, this would be the easiest money to make ever because I've already done a bunch of this paperwork. I can just hand it to them and they can just run with it. And she didn't want to do that, which is very suspicious.
Very suspicious. So wait, he tried. Hold on. Let me. I kind of. Hold on. So he was her real estate agent. Was she actually trying to buy a house, or was this her game playing? You know what I mean? Like, is this her like shtick that she like goes for real estate agents
Well,
because she thinks she has money, and they're like, oh, I'll just go pretend to buy a house and bag a guy, and
It
then
depends on
he
how
was like,
tinfoil
well,
hat
crazy.
you want to get.
Oh,
Well,
I'm
apparently
in
we
a
get
Karen
free
Reed.
tinfoil around here.
I know.
So her family or they did end up getting an property that they're Airbnb-ing. So that did happen eventually. Now, how they did it or whether, she basically showed Clayton a copy of a statement from a money market account with $450,000 in it. The problem is, I don't know where this $450,000 went. If they, did they put that into the Airbnb? Can they not get it out, or did they use all of it? We don't. Was that $450,000 even legit to begin with? Because they financed the Airbnb in a kind of a way where you'd say, "I want to do something with very low cash on hand." So there's people that have gone into the financials of all this in great detail.
Suspect. She was
In
looking
terms
for a
of-
husband.
Here's the thing, though. Clayton was the Bachelor, and then he left the Bachelor, and he was in a relationship for a while. But then, after his relationship ended, he moved. So he moved to Scottsdale because I think his brother lives there, and then he got his real estate license. She found him on LinkedIn and reached out to him through that, and it was sort of this thing like, what if you have parents who are pretty well connected like her parents, why would you use some random realtor from LinkedIn? Number one, why would you use a realtor who just got his license 5 minutes ago? So the tinfoil hat is that she sort of was following Clayton and noticed that he had moved to the area and cooked up this whole, and maybe they wanted to do this Airbnb thing anyway. So she got into that in order to try and sort of follow him or get in connection with him. The other tinfoil theory is that she had gotten some sort of personal trainer license or something like that earlier. And Clayton is big into personal training and consultation and things like that. So one theory was she was going to try and get at him through the personal training sort of working out aspect versus the real estate thing. So there's a whole bunch of theories out there.
It looks like she has an angle, maybe the same reason she reached out to Omar praying he wasn't married.
I don't know. I think maybe they were just looking for someone who would look at her story and not look too deeply beyond her story to sort of like the way she got a TEDx talk where she's like, hey, I've got this story. It's in a self-contained entity. Maybe it makes sense if you don't look at it too closely, if you don't validate.
Excuse me, Bruce. Zach, shut up.
Sorry,
I have to yell at. I have to yell at people.
Zach is
he's
a troublemaker, but he's a good guy.
He stalks me all over the place. I swear. All right, hold on. I had my son bring me a drink, so I have to pay the payment. Hold, please.
Hi, Declan.
messy hair. Don't worry about
I love your
Oh,
hair.
that's fine.
It's good to see you, honey.
Hi,
That's you say
guys.
hi, Omar, and hi.
Hi, Omar.
Bruce.
Hi, Bruce.
How are you, young man?
He's like, oh my god, he talked to me.
I'm young.
Jesus.
I'm only 9
He's
years
like, it's
old.
someone other than Amy.
All right, bye. He says Amy is his girlfriend. So
Yeah.
that is payment for a drink is for him
It's
to
too bad
talk.
when he's my age, I'll be fucking 110.
No, you'll be
That boy's
my age.
gonna be a
It's all
troublemaker, I'll
good.
tell you that much. He's got that thing. He's got
He
that
does.
thing.
He already has game. He's good.
Gotta work
Yeah.
on the game, yeah.
He was flirting with it when we were at the hospital this weekend with Liam, my 11-year-old. He has a lot. Liam is medically complex, but we were at the hospital. We got admitted, and Declan was flirting with the nurses, and one of the nurses was, "How old are you?" And he goes, "How old do you think I am?" I said, "Declan," and she goes, "I don't know, 22." And he goes, "More like 69." And I'm like, "Do not ever use that number again,
Whoa.
ever."
Oh, he's
There
got the
are
rules, man.
multiple numbers throughout the world that you can use, and not that one ever again. So yeah, I was embarrassed at that time.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's a good line. I'm going to use that later on the Canadian. Yeah.
You should keep it up. I mean, it's something he can. She thought it was funny. I was like, no, we're not going there. Not. He's like, well, I don't. It's just a number. I'm like, it's not just a number.
It's so funny.
And
Hey,
I'm not.
so these are David Gingras' responses to me, to my questions.
Ah,
I haven't read them
Do
since she's been indicted. I need to revisit this. So,
Let's do it.
all right. So this is his response to my question number 1 about the links floating around there, about the Padlet, about the Justice for Clayton Reddit, all that stuff. His response was, I don't follow any of that crap on Reddit. I just don't have the time. If you want to ask about something specific, I'm happy to ask Laura for her response. That was my first indication that this guy, David Gingras, is ultimately probably a bullshitter. He's not a serious litigator. He's like literally a couple of months from trial. Why would he not know about that evidence and at least have an opinion about it? Didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
I didn't take kindly to this response. I just kind of wrote him off as a bullshitter from this response going forward.
well, from that it tells me really because you spend your time on Twitter having Twitter arguments with 90,000 people, and you say you don't have time to know anything else about that. Like, come on! I have watched his arguments.
At that point, it's
And-
like, I'm not interested in like the narrative he wants to spin. Look, this is the narrative that's
Right.
out there. What is your response to it? Because that's important.
Right.
Even if there was a lot of information on the timeline or the wiki page or Reddit, he could have, if he really had a problem, he said, here's the biggest problem with Dave Neal's coverage. He said in this video, here's the link. At this timestamp, he says this thing, and I can prove it's wrong. And he's never done this.
That's what I was looking
Instead,
for.
what they do is they say, oh, well, Dave's out there on YouTube, and he just wants to make YouTube money.
Yeah.
Which is orthogonal to whether a particular claim is true or not. So it's just a very disingenuous mode of PR.
Yeah, it was.
The thing is though, Dave was, he had they threatened to make him homeless and put him on the street with a baby.
Yeah.
They threatened,
What?
David
Insane.
told him he was going to take his house and it was going to be her horse farm or something like that. Like he was going to put her horses on it. And then she sent him like a cease and desist. And then she said she was going to sue him for I don't remember what the amount of money was. It was some ridiculous amount. And I'm like, all he's doing is reporting on stuff that you literally put out there. You're the one that went to the public.
Yeah.
And he because he's taking Clayton's side, now you're mad. And that's stupid. Like you did this to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the thing is, when I went through that evidence, this evidence that was out there, and they were not able to refute any of it, or at least tell me some kind of another different angle that might make it interesting, then I just had to assume I was full of shit. My second question about Clayton contesting the pregnancy test, He says, yes, Clayton is 100% contesting the validity of the pregnancy test, despite Laura having taken more than half a dozen, including tests at an urgent care facility test that included a blood draw, nearly impossible to fake, and a test that Laura took directly in front of Clayton while he was watching. Clayton dismisses all this evidence, I guess just because he thinks Laura faked everything, which is interesting because this bit of information I got from the Padlet.
Right.
Like Reddit stuff. So of course he was aware of the other things.
Nobody is disputing that she had HCG in her system and could pass a blood or urine HCG test. The logical error they're making is that if you're pregnant, you'll have HCG in your system. But if you have HCG in your system, you may or may not be pregnant. So that's the logical error they're making through this whole case that they've never addressed, by the way.
He goes on to say more stuff about that, and you guys can go back and read that, but it's just more bullshit. But I asked him about the judge's recital of facts. She mentioned you feared Clayton when harassing employees of the facility. And we were attending your ultrasound. What were you afraid of? And this is his response. This involves the order of protection stuff that happened before I was involved. That is such a bullshit answer because there was literally an order of protection inherent in the case that was going to trial. There was an order of protection against Echard. So this kind of disingenuous answer right here, this involves stuff that happened before I was involved, is so just bullshit, nonsense, like stupid. Like he's clearly just not wanting to address things that are negative to Laura. So I said on the strength of this email that this guy's a fucking bullshitter. He's not going to ever have a straight conversation with me. And by the way, we're a year from this email. I was right. He's never had a straight up conversation with anybody regarding the facts of this case.
Can I just tell you, it seems like it's been the longest year ever.
Yeah.
In terms of this case, I feel like this case has been going on for 12 years, like in our own little area, not just in what she's done prior.
By the way, Owens responded to that request. He said, Clayton sent harassing text messages to me, threatened to get me into contact with Michael Marraccini, my abusive ex. See attached police report. None of that has anything to do with why she thought he was going to cause a scene.
Right.
At the facilities.
She called the FBI on Dave
at the trial. By the way, Gingras denies that he did that. He says that he did not call the FBI. But
you mean on Mike? No, I'm talking about Dave Neal. She called the FBI on Dave Neal.
Yeah.
Laura filed a FBI report.
Yes, which is wild.
And the interesting
she
thing
is
there,
nuts, huh?
Yeah. When the FBI looked into it, they read his blog, her lawyer's blog, where she was basically making self-harm threats. So the FBI called for a wellness check.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Imagine.
I asked him about the restraining order against Marraccini being by way of stipulation, that the stuff was not litigated. I know the restraining order was renewed for 5 years after the hearing. What did he do to warrant renewal? And his response, like, she gave me the file of the DV claim. Her claim was that he was stalking her at the gym where she was working out at, that he'd never had any kind of actual real personal contact, but she just made allegations essentially that he was stalking her. That I've later come to know that Marraccini denied, but he never really opposed this request to renew, so it wasn't really actually litigated. And furthermore, actually, I think he did. I just think it didn't really matter because the bar to renew these restraining order complaints is so low. If she just simply says that I'm still afraid of this guy, they're almost always going to grant the renewal.
Right.
So the difference now is, now that she's being brought up on criminal charges for this kind of extortion, if she tries to renew these restraining orders again, all of these other stuff are going to become wildly relevant. It'd be the stupidest thing for her to actually try to do that. But I guess we'll see.
If those are taken away, though, because of all of this, would that stay on their record? Because she lied to them about everything?
They'd have to go through a process of expungement of the orders. And it would have to be the result that the court made a finding that essentially the prior findings were frivolous, which is really hard to do. But
Okay.
it's
Right.
possible. It's
Because
possible.
even if she's lying about the Echard guy, it doesn't mean that she was necessarily lying about the other guys in the past,
Yeah.
right? So,
Like, for example, just because like somebody that is a known liar lied about one thing, that is she's being prosecuted for, that doesn't necessarily mean that every single thing that's ever come out of her mouth has necessarily been a lie, especially the things that have been prior findings in court. And so it's a different process. It's possible that it could happen, but we're a long way from that.
just absolutely ruin these men's lives.
Yes.
Just because.
Yes. And to the extent that they've been prevented from getting certain employment opportunities because of these orders, there's real damages there. So those need to be explored.
Could they go after her civilly if she's
Yeah.
locked up?
They can.
Have they tried? Have they tried already?
Not to my knowledge, they haven't.
Oh, okay.
But
It
I'm
would be very
guessing they might
expensive.
now.
I mean, regardless of the criminal charges, I think Clayton has the best case for defamation in civil court because he
Yeah, he
has very good evidence that she got some of his jobs canceled during this time frame while all this was
Yeah.
going on. And so because you have to tie the defamation to monetary loss,
Yeah.
which can be
Well, I
hard
mean,
to do.
she went on TEDx, right, to talk about Mike.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's out there still publicly. So technically,
Mhm.
if it comes out that everything was a lie and that she's done this in its prior history,
Mhm.
that's kind of proof for him.
That is a defamation claim. And then he could probably bring in these not even prior bad acts, subsequent bad acts
Right.
as evidence to support a civil case and support whatever damages that would be based on loss of employment opportunities. The fact that this was a public case, his name has been smeared over the internet for years now.
Awful.
And whatever that would be worth, punitive damages or whatnot. I would just say that Echard already has $150,000 judgment against her on top of
Did it
whatever.
go up after the appeal?
It's closer to 200,000 now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
after the
know it's
appeal.
180.
Mhm.
Yeah, after the appeal is 180, and it's going to be growing is the more that they have to keep on contesting
Wow.
stupid claims by Gingerbread. But that's already out there. Her ability to pay that judgment is in question. It seems
Well,
like
how is she? I
trying
just
to-
saw some cat lady said something. She was like, "Well, if you're going to go after him civilly, like, what's the point if she can't? You can't get blood from a stone, right? I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but
Yeah.
how is she
You
paying
have to
for
not
her
be
current
doing
lawyers?
money.
It looks like she's been through like the
Well,
revolving door of lawyers.
Jingus is free. Jingus is doing it. He said he was going to stay on it, and no matter how long it took, whatever, through
Yeah.
family court.
He's gone
Apparently,
through
they paid him for the original court hearing action, and then he's
Yeah.
been doing the appeal work for free.
What an
of
idiot!
his
So
own.
yeah, I don't know how they're paying for all that. I don't know. Their financials seem very suspect to me,
Yeah.
especially since her dad just did a big GoFundMe.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Did people actually support it?
Oh
yeah, over like $100,000.
yeah, it's like $125,000 GoFundMe.
He's
And-
also a public radio figure
Yeah.
from like years ago, and so people know him apart from Laura Owens.
Amy, say hi to Laura because she's probably watching.
Hi, Laura.
Oh, boy.
Nice to meet you.
The problem with that GoFundMe is there's no transparency. So if I was going to do something like that, I'd say, look, here's my medical bills. Here's the receipts for my medical bills. Let me do the GoFundMe. Now let me pay those bills and show the receipts that show I paid it.
Absolutely.
So if I was her dad, this is what I would be doing for full transparency if I had these medical bills that I needed to pay. They, of
Yeah.
course, haven't done this. So everybody is very skeptical.
My
Right.
other question is, so didn't she actually, before Clayton, I don't know if it was before or in between, she sued a contractor?
Yeah, that's another case.
For
Another
something?
legal case. Yeah. So they when they moved to Arizona, they had their property, some contractor work done for horse stalls or whatever, and land grading and all of that. And they got into a legal dispute there as well. And so everybody that's looked at that case thinks they kind of, took that guy for, they sort of bullied him around with the legal system.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course back in San Francisco, there's this whole deal with the Uber car crash and a lawsuit related to that. So this seems like a very litigious family. This seems like a very
Yeah.
common thread of behavior, even
Apples don't
outside
fall
of
far from the
romantic
tree.
interests.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're going to use the court system against people, like that's my biggest thing. Because I mean, watching, Fake Victim with Turtle Boy on our end of it, and the stuff that she has done, and then the fact that the O'Keefe family, like John O'Keefe's family, has specifically invited her to court, knowing Turtle Boy was going to be there, and he couldn't be there because of the restraining order. And Turtle Boy got up and left, but they walked out with her purposely to go start more stuff and try to get Turtle Boy in more trouble because he was trying to get, as far away as he could. But he went where the Mass State Police told him to go, and then they're like, "Oh no, he did this. He keyed my car. Or he did this and that and the other." And I mean, and that's just like why the restraining order happens. Why he spent 60 days in jail. Yeah, it's
She's
part
another
of it.
one that faked a pregnancy.
Yeah, she faked a pregnancy. He's named him Baby Clay. And so every time that he's in the show, we all say R.I.P. Baby Clay. And that was with the whole like fake pills. Oh, I took one, it didn't work. So and she said she was gonna go drive it. She was waking her kids up at 4 a.m. for her 4 children to put in the car to go have a real abortion or a fake abortion in his real driveway.
Yeah.
So
She's a real gem, that one. Yeah.
Baby Clay, R.I.P. Baby Clay, you guys. Baby Clay, he is missed. He had a lot of potential being Turtle Boy's baby.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's interesting seeing some of these cases because you can see some of the parallels, So
Yeah.
in
Same type of women, maybe.
She tried to try out for the Bachelorette too.
yeah, so in the Laura case, you've got the same thing with, well, I took the pills, but maybe I didn't take the pills right, so maybe it didn't work, so maybe I'm still pregnant because she, Greg was basically like, okay, Laura, get the abortion and maybe we'll date, and she took the pills or whatever, and he blocked her, and she's like, oh, well, it didn't work right, and I'm still pregnant, and all this jazz. And then with the court at the June 10th hearing, her lawyer called 911 because Mike Marraccini was there.
Subpoenaed.
Saying, oh, he's violating the restraining order. Please arrest him, Phoenix police. And of course, the Phoenix police were like, well, this is court. There's like 900 bailiffs here. We're just going to, there's nothing wrong.
And he had a legal subpoena to be there as a witness.
Yeah. And, her lawyer will argue that it wasn't legal or whatever. But
The lawyer's an idiot.
I mean, the proof is that Mike was scrutinized on June 10th in court by the court police that were there because it was a public case, the regular court security, and the Phoenix police who showed up in police cars next to our tech van. And we were like, uh-oh, what's happening?
Yeah, I remember that.
No, he was never arrested. So I think it was okay.
You guys were enjoying scones and they were threatening to arrest Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all really had scone beef? I was left out. I was in Hawaii while y'all were doing that.
I remember, yeah. That was.
I saw. Yeah, I watched your stream afterwards.
Oh, and I was all sunburnt, and my stream's like, yeah. So it's 6 a.m. I'm gonna just give my comments on what I think I just heard in his 1 hour, 2 hour trial.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Man.
Amazingly, so the day after that June 10th hearing, Laura filed a police report for saying all 3 men violated their respective restraining orders because they had made an Instagram reel together saying, "Hey, we're going to court. We hope justice is served in court." They never said her name. They just said we're going to peacefully go to court and state our case.
I'm fully expecting Laura Owens to take out an order of protection against Maricopa County DA's office for unfairly harassing her
podcast place
with these criminal charges. By the way, you want to know her explanation for the miscarriage? This is her explanation. Has it ever been established that the specific date that she miscarried? This is Genderbread's response. This is addressed in our expert disclosure. The bottom line is that because of the way Laura's pregnancy ended, It's not possible to determine the exact date. I realize that most lay people, he's a fucking lay person in this regard, think that a miscarriage means that baby dies and then is expelled from the mom in a bloody mess. That is one way pregnancies can end, but it's not the only way. Prior to consulting with our expert, a retired OBGYN, I had no idea this was even possible, but apparently it's not uncommon for a woman to get pregnant. The fetus grows for a while and then dies, but rather than being expelled from the mom's body, the tissue remains inside and is reabsorbed back into the body.
No, you would become sepsist.
The vanishing twins.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is, even if she was pregnant and very, very early, like before she even filed the paternity case, if she had miscarried very early to the point where it was just like having a period or something, which is possible, right? That is not clinical proof of miscarriage. And the problem is they went into the February evidentiary hearing saying, hey, we've miscarried. And it's like, you have no clinical proof. You have no clinical proof of pregnancy, paternity, or miscarriage. So the problem isn't that these things could happen. The problem is they've never established that anything did happen. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, exactly. And I think that's where the one test that demonstrated little to no fetal DNA was most relevant, because she's claiming that she reabsorbed the fetus. There was never a bloody show. There's never a mess. There's never a tangible way to know that she was actually no longer pregnant. Fine. Then I guess then we should be able to go and perform a test that demonstrates that that happened. They were unable to produce any scientific evidence to that effect.
But at the size that she showed the judge that she was at that point with that huge basketball, you would have to expel that. You would have to have a DMC. Like I'm no doctor, but I'm a woman and I've been a mother and I've had life experience where like you would have to get rid of that. That you would end up being desperately sick.
The problem was at that point in November and December when she's going to these court hearings and she has this large belly, and this Dr. Medchill guy from Florida is like, well, people can just gain weight, and maybe she thought she was pregnant. Like
always the damn Floridians.
He had this whole theory of how all this could be possible. The problem is they never proved it, and she went to court and said, I saw the doctor last Friday. I'm 100% pregnant with twins. And it's like, you haven't verified any of this properly. And you're in a court action. Look, if you think you're pregnant and you are pregnant, you want to go have babies and not verify, never get an ultrasound, never get a fetal heartbeat monitor, never see an OBGYN. Okay, fine. But don't go to court and say that this guy who's a public figure got me pregnant, because now you're dealing with a different standard of evidence you need to meet.
Well, and this brings up a good point that he said that she felt like it was twins, but that's BS, because she told Clayton it was a female and a male. Yeah. That they were boy and girl twins.
Yes.
Why do I have balloons?
She cyclically thought that there was a boy and a girl inside of her belly.
So, for the twins.
And who are we to tell her that her
we're having a baby shower. We just didn't know it.
Yeah.
My son was like almost 11 pounds at birth. I may as well. I looked like I was having twins. Maybe I was having twins too.
That's a big ass baby. 11 pounds. Jesus.
He was a big ass baby. Yeah.
Nothing beats though that when Clayton first got his attorney and Deanna was there with him at the court hearing, and she was on Zoom, and she was literally just laying in about how there was no evidence, there was no medical reports, no anything that she has ever provided to say that she was pregnant, and her faces that she was making in the screen, like she wanted to like just scream, but it was all true. That's the sad part. Like, you had not one evidence. Your only evidence was one paper that had a 102. You admitted to doctoring it twice. You sent Dave Neal one. You sent another one to somebody else. And then you have fiber logos on your ultrasound the video she sent of her dad rubbing her sister's pregnant belly, saying it was her, and then the ultrasound picture of her nephew, and then the vanishing twin one that she stole from someone's blog that Dave got a hold of.
Oh yeah, he did like a reverse Google search or something, right? And then found it on a YouTube video from like 7 years prior or something like
You want to
that.
know what a
Yeah, the
response was
baby
to
A,
the
baby B.
Fiverr
That was
thing?
sent
Yes,
to real.
I
That was
do.
sent
What
to
was the
reality
response to
Steve.
Fiverr?
So yeah,
This is a
Call that
response. This is a
reality
Jingris
Steve
response.
ultrasound. Yeah.
Jingris says that I think that Laura will say that the Fiverr ultrasound is something fake that a third party created and then try to blame on her. I've never actually seen this. Again, he's full of shit. And I've certainly seen no evidence that Laura had anything to do with creating it. This is Laura Owens' response. The Fiverr ultrasound that Dave Neal has spoken about was something he claims was sent to Greg Gillespie in 2021. Has nothing to do with Clayton Echard. I never had an ultrasound with Gillespie. Have maintained this from the moment he brought it up in our civil case. Our pregnancy was personally confirmed to Greg in a call that he demanded after I took a pregnancy test at One Medical. I'm happy to have them send you the records and specifically state that. And she never sent me those records, by the way.
Of
And
course.
Of course she didn't.
we have the voicemails or the voice recordings of their phone conversation with Greg where they talk about this ultrasound. The other problem with this is even in the Clayton case, she says in terms of the reality Steve ultrasound, the baby A, baby B, she says, oh, well, I suspect that Greg Gillespie hacked my email and sent this to Clayton.
Yeah.
This is a very
I
non-trivial
can't.
claim. If you're going to claim this, you need very good evidence. It's not like saying like Greg has $5 in his wallet. That's a mundane claim. This is a non-mundane claim for which she has insufficient evidence.
Oh, this lady,
Well, I mean,
man.
she's
She's
actually
a pistol, this one.
It's
pleading not
exhausting.
guilty. Like, with all the evidence she has against her, does she really think she's going to be found not guilty?
Well, she can't because there's an admission. And I'll get to that in a minute because I forgot about this. She admitted to faking an HCG test.
Right.
Which would support like the main cause of action in the criminal case regarding the extortion, regarding the fraud, the fraudulent scheme.
Right. But I think in her mind, psychologically, she has built this framework of selective evidence that supports her story, right? So she'll say, I was justified with the true belief that it was okay to fake this evidence and send it to Dave Neal because Dave Neal was harassing me.
Exactly.
Therefore, it's okay. So she's justified it in her mind, and she thinks that will convince everybody else. It's sort of like when you watch the Chad Daybell, Lori Daybell cases, right?
Yeah.
They feel justified in everything that happened in their mind.
Because everybody was dumb.
That they should just be, they're mystified when they're found guilty of these charges.
Yes.
Literally.
And then double down.
They triple down and quadruple down, and Jesus, people.
You know, the whole Lori Valley. Yeah, I'm into that one too.
Yeah, or Sarah Boone is saying like because it's clear that she put this guy in a suitcase, like it's not disputed, but she's like, I'm justified in doing this. So she has a justification in her mind, and she will proceed forward on that justification, even though it's unconvincing to other people. And this is just a psychological problem.
That Sarah Boone case, Jesus.
I will say this, and not that I'm letting Sarah Boone off the hook by any means, because I'm not. She's fucking crazy. But George and his brothers are known for abusing the crap out of women. And his brother, just this past year, right before Sarah's trial, was arrested for murdering his wife or his fiance. He stabbed her in the head. And that was about 3 miles the other way from me because they live right in my area. So they are known for the abuse in that family, but she abused him too, just as much. And yeah, he may have got into it willingly. Who are you talking
They're playing hide and seek.
Zach, you're streaming over here.
Why
Why
don't
don't you
stalk me?
he is a stalker. I told you he's stalking me.
Zach, you have to write twice as many comments now.
I do need to move. I'm in Orlando, so that's where I get all the we get all the crazy. I mean, we have it's first of all you got Florida man, and then you got Florida woman, and then you add on Sarah Boone and Casey Anthony, and I mean,
I think it's true that multiple things can be true at once. I think the problem with a lot of
100%.
defendants, the problem with these defendants is they have convinced themselves right or wrong in their mind. The problem is you need to convince a jury. And I think people think or they have a block where they don't understand that their argument won't convince a jury.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you look at it on the flip side of that. You look at the Karen Reed trial, where we're on our second trial for that one, and the evidence there's or lack thereof evidence is so out in your face that how these people we call it the anti-Karen Reed side, because I like to troll on X a little bit sometimes with anti-Karen Reed people. It's become a hobby. Sometimes Amy's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Nothing." She's like, "You're trolling again, aren't you?"
I'm sitting there thinking, like, how does Laura Owens like even come up with these lies, these stories, the constant contact with people? Like, I get overstimulated with fucking X. Like, I can't even do. I can't tweet. I cannot get on it. I just like I get so overwhelmed. I do like YouTube, and that's it.
I used to until I started
have the fucking energy to do this. To get a man, to keep a man, a relationship, whatever. Like, and she's not like a bad looking chick. She looks crazy though. All up in here. You can tell her.
Crazy, she'd be fine. There wouldn't be anything wrong with her. But the fact that she's carried on this way. So look, there's these last two responses in the email from her. When I asked him, why didn't Laura not file a DV claim against Clayton, given that she claimed that she was sexually assaulted leading to the pregnancy? This is Jingis' response. That's a totally fair question. I asked her the same thing, and her response was, in effect, that she actually wanted to have sex with him that night, but she only said no because of the timing. They had only known each other for a matter of days. That's contradictory to me. She wanted to have sex with him tonight, but they only known each other a couple of days, but I don't know. So yes, technically Clayton's conduct fits the technical definition of rape. We jumped like a whole 4 different elements to get there.
Right.
Micah is I think I found my soulmate on YouTube just now.
Who's that?
Micah. He likes to go into Yellow Cottage Tales and Twisted Tragedies chats. Where's Noodles? Because Noodles is always in those chats causing trouble.
But so at the very end of this, he's saying that based off of what Laura said, Clayton's conduct fits the technical definition of grape, but Laura didn't feel that way about it at the time. That would fundamentally make it and take it out of the scope of grape 100%. And he's a lawyer, and he's been a lawyer for like a quarter of a century. And he's saying stupid shit like this. It just led me to believe that I don't think that this guy knows what he's talking about.
Right.
Maybe it's like trying to advocate for his client.
Like you were saying, he was trying to dip his toe into a well-known case, and he's pulling every dirty trick. And like, even if he doesn't believe what he's saying, he's getting paid to say it, right? That's kind of like what I was saying about her with her civil suits. Like, how is she paying for these attorneys if anyway, go ahead.
The very last thing was, this is his response with respect to the HCG test. And this is an admission. Just says, yeah, look, this is something Laura did after her identity was leaked to the media and people like Dave Neal started making videos about her. She panicked, didn't know how to get the media and bloggers to leave her alone. So she edited a real HCG test to change the number from something low, which showed she was in the process of losing the pregnancy, to something higher. She claims she did this purely as a defense mechanism, hoping it would stop bloggers from attacking her, and obviously it backfired. But for what it's worth, Laura only used that fake test with bloggers. She never submitted that to any court, but it became a piece of evidence in the trial. And so that's not even a true statement. Right. And so it's a blanket admission Like, there's no world where she's going to be found not guilty of all the charges against her.
She
She's
plainly
admitted
admitted
everything.
Also, the
admitted
timeline
twice.
is broken here because if she was losing her pregnancy at the time she took this blood HCG test, that is inconsistent with his current claims that she probably miscarried way before she even did the filing
Agreed.
in June or July or whatever
Well,
it was.
and here's the thing, though. What gets me, though, as a woman who has had 5 children. Yes, I know where they come from, but I've had 5. I've been pregnant a lot. She claimed to be pregnant with twins 10 days. 10 days after they had relations.
Yeah.
There's no way in any realm of this world that you're going to get pregnant within 10 days because it takes you at least 14 or more for your 28 for ovulation, but then 14 or more to actually show up on after you have done it. So there's 10 days that she can say I'm pregnant, and then all of a sudden it's twins. That's where I was like, she's wrong, completely
Well,
wrong.
there's that movie Species, where she got pregnant like within seconds of the guy finishing. She's like, "Oh, I'm pregnant." Oh,
Right.
you couldn't possibly be pregnant. No, Phil, look, it's right there. And then he got murdered with her tentacle.
I mean, this isn't
That's right.
This isn't a movie. It's not
Exactly what
Twilight or
happened.
whatever.
Right.
The other problem with that answer is that he's saying her name was leaked to the media.
She went
That's
to
true.
media.
She was anonymous in the Sun article, and of course, people on Reddit can figure out who she was because she was basically a public figure at the time. But in the court documents, her name is in the court documents. So if you just find Clayton's court documents, you'll find her name. That's not leaked to the media. That's a public record. So he spins it as this negative thing when it's just public court documentation.
Right.
Right.
I just feel like I mean, there's so many inconsistencies in her story, and the fact that she just keeps going and she doubles down and triples down on it, and like she really like, I think she's one of those people that she lies to herself so much that she does start to believe her own lies. So it could possibly be in her head she really does believe she was pregnant, but everything else that you have out there is proof that you're not. You've admitted under oath at least 3 times that you've doctored tests. You've admitted and Dave didn't say, that's right, Dave never said her name. He called her Jane Doe. He refused to say her name. I will say I did learn that
Good for him.
I
I said good for him.
Yeah, he would call her
Seriously.
Jane Doe.
I mean, we probably, in hindsight, we should have picked a different name because Jane Doe is typically used by law enforcement to refer to unknown victims, and she's not a victim.
Right.
So he did take some flack for that. We should have used a different name, but anyway.
Lucas, yes and no, it can happen 4 to 6 weeks after conception. Some people don't get morning sickness at all.
I didn't get sick whatsoever. I had a wonderful pregnancy. Not once. I didn't get sick.
On the other hand, I puked every day, 5 times a day during my pregnancies up until and during labor. So
Jesus Christ, Kelly.
it was not fun. And I've done that. Somehow I did it 5 times. I don't know how I did that. But well, I mean, the whole joke was, and I tell them, my husband, because my second, so I have 2 from my prior marriage. My husband has a daughter from his marriage. She's mine. I just didn't give birth to her. And we have 3 together, but one of ours was born sleeping. And so I told him he wanted me to quit smoking. I said, well, if you want me to quit smoking, knock me up, and then I'll quit smoking. And I did not think that he would do it for 3 years straight. Like, he took me seriously, way too seriously. So, but I mean, just, going through it and being a woman that has had multiple children and has had numerous different pregnancies, like, for me, at least, when I was pregnant. Like, there was no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, as soon as the test turned positive, I was vomiting. Like, there was nothing that would stop it. But some women won't have any And some women, you say missed period is a classic sign, but that doesn't always happen. Some women have bleeding during their pregnancy, and it's not considered a period. It's just considered but they think it's a period. So in their head, they don't even know that they're pregnant. That's why a lot of people.
I can't get past the basketball stomach and the no getting rid of a fetus and there's just no getting past that. I mean, you can say I was pregnant at 5 days. I was pregnant here. I was pregnant.
There's nothing with her behavior at any point during her dealings with Clayton Echard that suggested to me that she was genuinely pregnant at any time.
Ever.
Just
Yeah.
none. It was all just a big game to her and an extortion attempt. And she just thinks that, hey, look, I miscarried. I didn't know, whatever. And I faked a test because people were picking on me, and she just thinks that it's all going to go away. It's bullshit, man. You can't just keep on victimizing men this way and expect nothing to happen. That's why she's in the position that she's in.
I love that you said that. Victimizing men. That's what she did. That's her shtick, and that's what she does, allegedly.
Well, so she's facing 33 and a half years in prison if she is convicted on all charges.
That's a lot.
Aggravated. Given the maximum and giving them consecutive to each other. That's the max. She's not going to do that.
What do you think she'll get?
If I was the DA, I would give her a 3-year state prison sentence, plead to one of these felonies, and then we'll do it. And we'll be fine. She's got to plead guilty to one of the perjury charges. We'll discuss all the other charges. Agree to sentence for 3 years in state prison. Eligible for monitored release after 12 months if she takes certain classes, maybe a mental health evaluation or something. I don't know. Something to that effect, though. But she'd have to also apologize to Clayton as a condition of her plea deal and admit that she was wrong, which I don't think that she's going to do.
Right. That would have, if I was she would have to admit that she was wrong. Like that would have to be part of the deal because she has fucked a lot of men's lives up. I'll tell you what, if she doesn't go for a plea and they got to try this case with her and they find her guilty on like 7 of the 9 counts or whatever, then during sentencing, she's probably going to get 10 to 12 years in state. Wow.
I kind of hope that happens in a way because I feel like that's the only way it's going to stop her. Yeah, I think that like 1 year to 2 years, like, suspended sentence or whatever and probation, things like that. As much as I would love for her to have that because I don't feel like she's done, like she's not murdered somebody. But I feel like she's never going to get the help she needs, nor is she going to stop unless she is put behind bars where she can't do it anymore.
Think of Sarah Bone. There is a world that exists right now where she could literally be out of jail right now if she would have pled guilty.
It was a 15-year sentence with 5 years already served.
Yeah, and then I think that she only had to serve like I forget how much time, but she could like pretty much be out right now. And she rejected it. And then the judge like, Dick, do you understand that if you lose, you're going to jail for life? Was basically what he told her. It's like, Your Honor, I understand. Okay.
I heard that.
Just like to Kelly's point, I think the judge knew that they were mutually abusive and she may have snapped. Like he got into the suitcase, but I believe that she was abused. And I think that's why they were trying to give the deal. Like, just take this and go. But she was too fucking stubborn.
It was abusive to each other. They were both abusive. They both had been arrested numerous times for that.
Sure.
But, I mean, he had stabbed her in the leg. I get it, but that's not the only. Like if you chose to save on someone after he stabbed you in the leg, that's your own stupidity. Like
what's interesting is that not everybody in the public actually believes that she was abused, and I think part of that is because of how untrustworthy she was on the stand. And then just what a liar she turned out to be. At that point, they gave George all the benefit of the doubt. And even though he probably did abuse her, it's like, no, it was all her. And so whatever mitigating circumstances that might have been in the eyes of the jury, because she was such a terrible witness, it just backfired completely. Now she's in jail for the rest of her life.
Rest
of her life.
That's why defense attorneys hate having their clients testify, because you just never know. There's almost no good that's going to come out.
That's why everyone keeps saying that they think that with Karen that whether she should testify or not, and I'm like, they're
no, she's never.
Yeah, there's
Never going to
nothing
put
that's
her on
gonna-
the stand.
Yeah, don't.
It's
There's
bad
no-
enough that she's got all those clips that Hank's playing, soundbite Hank right now, playing all the clips that she said, and they aren't even anything that's bad.
So the difference
why were you
between
bringing up
Karen-
a couple of songs that you hate him 50 times in that voicemail? Didn't you hate him? Didn't you want to run over a car? Didn't you weren't you upset because he was cheating on you? Or you thought he was cheating on you? They're going to ask her all these questions like, no, I didn't think it was cheating, but I thought he was an asshole because he could have been. They're going to get her to say something stupid on the stand that's they're going to tie into her motive to murder, and then it's just going to all make sense to a jury, and then she's going down. There's no good that's going to come from her testifying. None.
No. And not for nothing, Sarah Boone and like Alec Murdaugh have that same like personality where like they have like, and this is my opinion because I watched both trials. They had to have the last word. They had to get their narrative out there. There was no way either of them were keeping their mouth shut. Karen Reed, not gonna talk. She's not getting up there.
Shouldn't.
But and that's why Hank is playing all the clips from her doing Dateline and 48 hours and all this kind of stuff. He's getting in all those clips because he knows Karen isn't getting up there. So he's trying to get her voice out into the court in between each and every witness. Like he's so cool. Listen, you might not like Hank Brennan, but he's effective.
He's done a good job. He's slimy, but he's done a good job. Omar, can you explain the rule of completion? Because with those clips that he's playing, you can tell where he's cutting them off to make it look bad. So with those clips that he's playing, what is a rule of completion to that? When they come back to the defense, are they allowed to play those same clips in context, or a clip that might be?
You can't just cherry pick stuff. If you're going to play a clip, you have to be able to play the entire thing. Like we can't just cherry pick sentences from a 1-hour interview. If you want to bring that, and then the defense makes it a big enough issue, the parties are required to introduce the entire relevant context that the statement was made in. And that could literally mean the jury has to sit there and listen to the entire 1-hour interview, or at the very least, the entire question, maybe the questions leading up to what spurned that response, and the surrounding narrative behind it, because otherwise
behind it,
you have cherry-picked evidence and you have a potentially misleading exhibit for the jury that they're going to have to rely upon. That's all that means. It's just, if you're going to show the sentence, it's got to be seen in its complete context.
Well, and he's doing it, and like you can hear him where they cut it off. Like she's still in a mid-word, but he's doing it from multiple different interviews because she's done so many.
Right.
So he's playing so many different multiple interviews, like with Gretchen Voss and things like that. And honestly, if you listen to the clips, there's only one that I think is even remotely makes her look bad, just because she has resting bitch face, and so she can become like unlikable to people, which I think she's the sweetest person ever. Like she's been on YouTube when the Glare came on and said, she's so thankful and grateful to everybody and talks to people. She shows up at standouts, her and her family, and like she is a very genuine person. But when you have a resting bitch face like that, some people just don't. They just look like they're a bitch, and they're not. And I feel like, these clips, the only one that really made her look bad was when she was talking about Peggy O'Keefe, where she was like, and then Peg leaned over and he was like, I think he got hit by a car. And I was like, and it was, of course, right after Peggy got off the stand, after she was crying about her, because I feel bad for Peggy. She's lost 2 children. No mother should ever have to go through losing 2 children. However, after sitting through 2 trials and listening to the non-evidence, they found 47 pieces of taillight and only 23 made the entire taillight back together. So where did the other 20 pieces of taillight come from?
Oh, they were buried in the snow. I don't know what to tell you.
They revealed themselves.
Swallowed them up.
Over a 3-week period, they revealed themselves. And,
I'll tell you what, Karen Reed has some really good lawyers. Why, in the midst of her knowing that she was going into a second trial, they would allow her to go and make a freaking documentary?
Well, that was done prior. They followed her during court, the first trial. And I think
they should have postponed all of it until after the second trial.
Well, I think they thought it was over after the mistrial. I think they thought she was going to get not guilty. And that's why they allowed them to come with her trial. And they pretty much lived with them.
There should have been something in the contract that says that if there's going to be pending litigation afterwards, in other words, a second trial, then this shall not air until after the conclusion of the second trial to protect themselves.
Yeah.
Y'all are waving.
Oh, Dennis is one of the boots on the ground in front of the courthouse every single day at the Karen Reed trial. Yeah,
no,
Dennis
at
did
the same time. It freaked me out. I was like, what?
Yeah, I was just so sorry. No, Dennis.
And
I
waving
was
to
with
people.
him yesterday at a standout. And
Dennis is he
he's a
is
good man.
he is the boots on the ground. Him and his wife Brenda are amazing, and they do prayer every morning in front of the courthouse. They were there at 6:30. They do prayer at 7:45, and then they do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then they all walk out to the other side of the buffer zone, so they don't get, MSP doesn't decide to become Nazis and arrest people, because they've been really bad right now.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys have heard.
You guys, my son has been extra patient for 2.5 hours, and I have to jump off. But
No,
guys,
you're fine.
thank you for doing this show. Oh, gosh.
Okay. I got to jump off.
Yeah, I have to jump off. I loved this show. We have to do it again sometime. Bruce, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, let's.
Oh yeah,
let's come
anytime.
on again. This was great, Omar. It was such a great idea to stream both, and I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, we'll do it again. We'll do it again on Karen Reed, because I know you got all kinds of ammunition for the retrial. We definitely got to redo that at some point.
Free Karen Reed, Dennis. That's right, baby.
Free Karen Reed.
We could. What's up with the Tom CPU stuff? I thought I heard he got thrown and excluded from the prayer circle.
We're not talking about Tom CPU. Nope.
Channel. So if you want to know,
Bye,
and
guys.
but if you want to know, you need to go talk to Tom CPU and them, because we don't get involved in that anymore. But so
It's a good thing I don't even know who Tom CPU is.
yeah,
You know what? Maybe that's a good thing.
he's another creator that is down there, but we just kind of stay away from that stuff. And then
Bye, guys.
let's see. Dennis said,
Bye,
"Bye,
man.
Amy."
Bye, guys.
I'm gonna get off just a second, but yeah. So like, I totally appreciate you guys coming on and doing this and really just kind of going over it, because for me, I wanted to go over it, but it was hard to explain because there's so many twists and turns to it that you just don't. You don't want to say it. I don't want to say it wrong either. You know what I mean? So
I'm not even sure we've actually completely explained it, because there's still a lot more.
There's still so much more that goes with it, but I mean, still, it's that's all we'll say, Amy. There was drama, but I'm not trying to be mean or rude into anybody at all. I just with them, with Tom and Mike, you gotta have to talk to them about it, or one of their followers about it, because it's not anything we want to get into.
All right, folks. With that, I gotta go take care of. Well, they're screaming at me in the backyard. I better go out there and figure out what's going on.
They've been good. I mean, all of our families have been really good the last 2.5 hours. Bruce, I want to tell you, I was watching you and Lauren today on your show last night. I think it was last night or the night before last, about the police calls.
Yes.
I almost peed myself because she could not stop laughing, and you were like, "I've lost Lauren. I can't get her back." And I was like, "Oh my God."
How red was Bruce's face when that was going on? I could sure.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to be the anchor and just reel him back in.
It was
He does
so
me all the time. He's like, you know what? We've lost Omar. We got to keep him focused.
Yeah.
Bruce is good at it. Like, we have, I've talked to Lauren, and I only live like 2.5 hours away from each other. So I've talked to her a couple times.
Yeah.
She when Laura claimed the whole autism thing, and that's why she did all the bad stuff. My son Liam has nonverbal autism. So my son Liam has NF1, brain cancer, nonverbal autism, epilepsy, and he's legally blind. So he's very medically complex. We're St. Jude patients, and so we were in the hospital last week. So things like that. Wait to talk to someone.
Yeah.
What? But so for me, when I was watching Lauren, you guys, even Omar, you guys just make things. You guys make me, when I need to get away from Karen Reed, I'm in your chats or just kind of like watching in the background or watching, and usually replay crew because I am watching so many other things. So I just want to thank you guys for everything that you guys have done over the last year, because you have brought attention to something that is dear to my heart. That's why I did put a trigger warning up today, because I wanted people to know that, like, I've lost a child. I've had an ectopic pregnancy, so I've lost 2. And I wanted everybody to know that there is good in the world. And I personally have been affected by somebody who is a stalker, who has faked multiple pregnancies as well. Like I said, we took her to Dr. Phil. I'll find the Dr. Phil episodes and I'll send those to you.
Oh yeah.
I had to get a protection order against her because she lives near where Lauren lives, but it's so close to me that I'm home all the time. But she targeted me big time because she knew I was doing the background information for that and like helping the producers. Like I wasn't on the Dr. Phil, it was our friend, but it was actually her friend that I became friends with. And we caught her doing it to another guy. And she told him that she has triplet girls. And when we told his sister, and his sister decided to tell him to have her pee on a stick, it was right after the gender reveal. And she knew that Courtney and I had got a hold of her, gotten a hold of it and figured it out. And so she refused. She said she went to the hospital. Then she's faked her own suicides. She's up there with Laura. So I have a 4-inch binder. Every single page is separate of a post, a group that just has her in it, a YouTube post, anything that she could make about me. She doxed my husband, she doxed my ex-wife, or his ex-wife, my ex-husband, my mom. She doxed as many people as she could. And I'm like, whatever, dox us, because you want to dox me? Go to the Florida voters registration. It'll give you my address. Like, it'll tell you exactly where I live. So for me, it was like, whatever, but I just didn't trust her around my kids. And it was scary. She's nuts. Yes, I do follow What the Hales. And actually my dad lives 20 minutes from Otter Creek. So my dad lives in Bronson.
That's a pretty wild case. I don't even understand anything in that case.
I've not gotten involved with the Hales case. There's no.
I haven't gotten all in, like, as much into the court cases. Like I've heard the things and everything. But I watched them in the beginning when they first moved to Otter Creek, and he called out, the town council and the water bill. And I just dove into that one. And then I was hooked for a while. But then when I couldn't take the abuse that their neighbors were doing to that baby girl, and just knowing what they were putting her through and what they were living in. And it just, like, I couldn't watch it for a long time. I had to stop it. But I do watch What the Hales. And it's funny because I tell my dad all the time, I'm like, I'm coming up. Let's go to Otter Creek. He's like, I'm not going to Otter Creek. So, which I'll be up in that area Wednesday. I have to go back to Gainesville for Liam to be seen for a follow-up after surgery on Friday. So, but yeah, these cases that are out there, and the big cases that are out there like that, like Sarah Boone and things like that, I want people to realize that they're not the norm. And I think that some people get caught up into the true crime world where they think everything becomes, like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Like, I've watched, like, the Sherry Papini case this weekend and all that stuff. The lady who faked her own kidnapping and said it was Hispanic women, and she ended up getting arrested for that. But like, I just want people to realize it's not the norm. These people are not the norm. Like, they are.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, and I think there's just things we can learn about it that help us in general when we think about our own lives and how we go about our own lives in terms of, okay, how can I assess evidence, more rationally? How can I use logic? Are there people who are more populations that have disadvantages or health conditions? And when these people take advantage of them, we can bring more awareness to that and everything. And it can be hard for sure.
And the mental health aspect of it,
Mhm.
because I mean, she's got mental health issues in some way.
Yeah, but just some maybe more nuance, like on Lauren's channel, because a lot of people they'll say, oh, this Laura Owens must just be crazy. Well, that's just sort of a throwaway conclusion. Like,
She knows what she's doing.
we can actually look at it with a little more nuance and try to understand, what's going on in this situation. Who are the people she's taking advantage of? Can we learn more about them? And that kind of thing. So I think there's advantages to looking at these cases, but you're correct. They're not happening every day, but because they're so stark, the contrast is turned up. We can learn a lot about our own lives as a proxy through these cases. And it teaches us about ourselves and our own relationships.
And also, I think it makes us guarded too of other people. So until we learn like who someone really is. Because
healthy skepticism is good, in my opinion.
Redondo sent a super chat for $5 asking who's the defense when it's their turn to ask for dismissal with prejudice with all the BS. I'm not exactly sure what you mean.
So if you're talking about the Karen Reed trial, they already did a motion to dismiss for Brady violations prior to in pretrial, and Bev dismissed it, Bev denied it and refused an evidentiary hearing, even though like evidence had been hidden to them. There's evidence of the Sallyport video that was the one that was inverted. There's evidence of that Sallyport video and of Brian Higgins being at the station at like 1:30 in the morning when he said he wasn't there, and he said he didn't talk to anybody, and he's on the phone. He said he was moving cars. He only moved one vehicle and then moved a bunch of stuff from one car to another. And it looks suspicious. And so, I mean, of course, nobody knows where he went afterwards. And then there's there's all these different Brady violations that they're literally turning over videos, like 5 more videos of the Sallyport for the second trial, the videos they've never had. So why wouldn't they have those in the first place? And when it comes down to that, it's like Bev doesn't care. She is the most biased judge I've ever seen. And I don't say that lightly because I know judges have to, give and take some, but she really is biased. And as soon as the Commonwealth comes in with the Commonwealth expert decided to make on his own after the defense blew up their timeline, came in with a new report of his own. And said that he decided to go and make sure the time drift, the clock drift was there, which he didn't put any of that in his prior report. So you added a bunch of stuff to your report, and none of that was in your report. Then you got caught lying about all of your resume of your education. And before he came on the stand, when that first came in, they were like, look, we need more days to go over this, or we need him to be excluded. And Bev said, no, he can testify. Like, the prejudice with her is our dog bite expert was this older lady, Dr. Russell, lives in LA. She is been a cop. She's been a pathologist. She's been a forensic pathologist. She's done an Emmy. She's an emergency room doctor. She has a long ass history of every job you could have. She is dog bite expert. They made her do a voir dire for 2 days, separated within a month of each other, where Hank just beat this lady down. To her, at one point, she gasped when he said something to her. Like, she was devastated that he said it. But any of the voir dires they've asked for the Commonwealth, for the defense to have the problem, she's denied them. No, they can just testify.
It
And
makes
so
more sense she was asking about that than the Laura Owens case. I was like, I wasn't. I thought she was asking about the Laura Owens case, but that read makes way more sense.
yeah, it's the defense. The defense. I will tell you right now, Bev will never, ever, ever. She will never dismiss this case. And if it's a mistrial, they will take her back. They will take her back and try her again, and they will try her until they get a guilty or not guilty.
That would be the worst case scenario. Another mistrial.
It's so like the first trial, they said that they thought that a lot of people think that there were plants on the jury because the foreman was a prior cop, and him and the engineer, they really like tried to push and everybody to do guilty, but there was three that held out completely, like they weren't going to. Yeah. They said no, and so that's why that was a mistrial. But people are thinking Hank's trying to get a mistrial at this one too, because if he gets mistrial, then they already paid him over $250,000 to do this as a special prosecutor. He's got more, and next year is Morrissey's his year for election, the DA. Yeah, and if they do that, he could be promised a DA, like you could run for the DA and we could get you in the DA seat. And it's a whole different like aspect. And there's like, that's a whole nother show. We could go on forever like that. But if you guys want to,
my kids are yelling at me.
Yeah, you gotta go, and I'll let you go. I gotta get dinner ready too. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I do appreciate you.
Hey Bruce,
and it was great talking to you, Bruce.
It's good talking to you again.
I know, man.
A couple weeks hiatus.
We gotta hang out.
The other night, it was a wild one.
Oh boy, gotta catch up.
Well, you guys, be good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on your show.
How to do this, because I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, I think we just start the live.
Oh well, I mean, once you do it once, you pretty much have it down. I mean, I can't even say it took me a couple months to figure out the general things, but. Yeah, for sure. But hey, we'll do it again. Y'all have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend.
You too. Thank you guys for joining us. I loved having all of you guys in the chat, and we will see you guys soon.
All right, folks.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Bruce.